Welcome to the fantasy audiobook, The Avenger of the Uzumaki clan. Chapter 1. It was a peaceful night as usual, but a sudden disaster came to Konoha Hidden Village. Ah, run away. You must stop Kyuubi. Why is Kyuubi rioting at this time? Send someone to inform the 4th and 3rd generations. Before Lord Hokage arrives, we must stop the Kyuubi. We must guard this place. Let the people evacuate immediately. The Kyuubi appeared inexplicably in the center of the village and instantly ravaged the entire Hidden Leaf village. Its huge size and unparalleled power, which far exceeded the cage level, were simply not something that ordinary ninjas could deal with. Even a slight scratch and a weak impact can easily kill a large number of Konoha ninjas. Just for the brief period of time it appeared, more than hundreds of Konoha ninjas died. You retreat immediately. That is to say, the elderly 3rd Hokage, holding the King Kong wishful rod transformed from his psychic beast, the monkey demon, arrived with his closest comrades and Konoha's most elite power, and only temporarily contained the 9 tails, acts of violence. Let the casualties of those Konoha ninjas not expand further. But it's obvious that with the power of Kyuubi, even at his peak, Hiruzen Sarutobi couldn't completely fight against him. Not to mention Hiruzen Sarutobi, who has entered his declining years of old age. After just a few minutes of fighting, Hiruzen Sarutobi was already under great pressure, and Akamichi Tifo and others who fought together were also injured. Any attack from Kyuubi, even the whipping of the tail, is not something that ordinary ninjas can easily stop. Not good. It's tailed beast Tama. Everyone, please disperse. And that's when Kyuubi raised his head, and a giant dark black chakra ball instantly condensed on the huge fox's mouth. Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression in the opposite position couldn't help but change. Tailed Beast Jade. This was originally the strongest attack of the Tailed Beast, and now it is the Tailed Beast Jade released by the 9 tails, the most powerful being among the tailed beasts. This power, it can destroy most of the Hidden Leaf village. But Sarutobi Hiruzen, the 3rd Hokage, had no way to stop him. Just when he gritted his teeth and planned to use his extremely enlarged King Kong Rui rod to see if he could forcibly sweep the 9 tails out of the village again, or even it was the time to interrupt Kyuubi's tailed beast Tama attack. Call out. Suddenly, above the sky, a beautiful golden light flashed. The Flying Thunder God's technique, guiding thunder. First, with a flash, the tailed beast Tama, which flew out with great force before Hiruzen Sarutobi had time to block it, was forcibly moved to a wilderness location far away from the Hidden Leaf village. Then there was another flash. He directly took the huge 9 tails and disappeared from the place. Quote exclamation mark question mark quote. The scene of disappearing before and after. In that moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen and others who stayed in place were stunned subconsciously, and other ordinary Konoha ninjas thought that they had fallen into a genjutsu. However, these people responded very quickly. It's the 4th generation. It's Minato. Oh, it's the 4th generation. That golden figure was none other than the 4th Hokage of their Hidden Leaf village, Namikaze Minato. Xiaochun, Yan, and Chofeng, I will leave the scene to you 3. After Hiruzen Sarutobi quickly confessed to his 3 close friends, he immediately took several Hokages directly under the Anbu and rushed towards the location outside the village. How strong is Kyuubi? It was not clear before, but after experiencing the battle just now, Sarutobi Hiruzen has the most profound understanding. He really didn't think that his young 4th Hokage could withstand Kyuubi by himself, let alone the Sharingan in Kyuubi's pupils during the battle just now. This is entirely a man-made disaster. There must be someone with an agenda secretly. The warning line in Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart had already been raised to an extreme level. However, it is a pity that the 3rd Hokage, who hurriedly and slowly hurried away, did not have time after all. By the time he arrived at the scene, when he saw the huge 9-tailed figure that was completely restrained by golden chains, it instantly turned into a red light and penetrated directly into a young figure below. Minato, Kushina. When the outer barrier is automatically broken and lifted, Sarutobi Hiruzen jumped up and came to the closest position. Looking at the lifeless Minato and Kushina couple, a trace of sadness appeared on their old faces. No matter whether this old man showed some selfishness and committed some stupid behaviors after getting old, at least the justice in his heart still remains. The young 4th Hokage is the future of Konoha. Now he was watching Minato, who was only in his 20s, die in front of him. How could Sarutobi Hiruzen not feel sad? Don't worry, Minato, Kushina, your 2 sons, I will definitely take good care of them. Single quote. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the bodies of Minato and Kushina, who were gradually becoming cold and stiff, and gently picked up 2 babies from the bottom. One baby had blonde hair and blue eyes, and the other had red hair and gray eyes. The blonde baby with blue eyes looked more like Kushina, while the red-haired baby with gray eyes looked 3 or 4 points similar to Minato. Moreover, the smooth and white abdomen of the red-haired baby with gray eyes was engraved with a mysterious rune array pattern. The huge sealing power emanating from it, as well as the faint 9 tails chakra aura, even without having to witness it with his own eyes before, Sarutobi Hiruzen could clearly know that the 9 tails was resealed in the body of this red-haired baby. Red hair, it seems that you have inherited Kushina's bloodline. No wonder Minato chose to seal it in this child's body. From now on, you will be called Uzumaki Menma. And you will be called Namikaze Naruto. Single quote. Looking at the 2 babies in his arms, Sarutobi Hiruzen thought about many things in his mind. After his face changed many times, he finally made up his mind. Looking at the 2 babies in his arms, he gave these 2 children who were obviously brothers different surnames. Menma, I hope you won't blame me when you grow up. This is the responsibility and mission you need to bear. As the child of Minato and Kushina, I believe you will understand it in the future. Single quote. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed secretly in his heart, and then he ordered the Anbu who had stopped in the distance to come forward to collect the bodies of Minato and Kushina, and he returned to the village in advance with the 2 babies in his arms. What Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't know was, under the seemingly stunned expression of the red-haired baby in his arms, a huge wave had already been set off in his heart. What? Who am I? Who is he? Where is this place? The red-haired baby repeatedly unfolded this 3 combination of quality in his heart. Time flies, and 5 years have passed quickly. In the 53rd year of Konoha, on the upper floor of a slightly dilapidated apartment building on the west side of the village, a short red-haired boy sat on a high platform, facing the rising sun, reflecting the first ray of morning light shining on the earth, and looking at the Hokage rock on the high point in the distance. Under the boy's seemingly plain face, there is a hint of sarcasm in his pupils. Has it been 5 years since I came to this world? Uzumaki Menma, this is really a very sarcastic name, different, but TM all the same. Single quote. Namikaze Minato, Uzumaki Kushina, these are the names of the red-haired boy's parents in this life. That's right, this red-haired boy is not a native of this world, but comes from a planet called Earth, or with the memory of his previous life, he can't tell whether he is a soul or a reincarnation. Anyway, he took a nap in a classroom in his previous life, and when he opened his eyes, he saw the scene of Minato and Kushina's parents in this life dying in front of him. I have to say that at that moment, the scene had a great impact on him. He originally thought he was Naruto. But later he realized that he was not Naruto. But he was Naruto again. Because his last name was Uzumaki, and the 9 tails was sealed in his body, but he was not blonde and blue-eyed, and he was not called Naruto. He was a Uzumaki Menma who looked 3 or 4 points like his father Minato, but inherited his mother's red hair and gray eyes. And the blonde and blue-eyed boy called Naruto was surnamed Namikaze. They were obviously brothers from the same mother. Namikaze Naruto lived in the house of Minato and Kushina as the orphan of the 4th Hokage, enjoying the support and love of the villagers. And what about him? He was an ordinary orphan adopted, the container of the 9 tails, and a monster in the mouths of the people, living in this dilapidated apartment building. Although he reminded himself more than once that this had nothing to do with Naruto, the ordinary people were just deceived by the high-level officials, and they did lose their loved ones 5 years ago, so it was easy for them to vent their anger on him. But who can understand the loneliness, resentment, jealousy, and pain in his heart? We all have the same father and mother. Single quote. Uzumaki Menma looked at his father's Hokage rock, and his little hands clenched involuntarily. Even though he lived 2 lives, he was just an ordinary college student in his previous life. Mentality. Will. Don't be funny. He is just an ordinary person, a human being with joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness, and 7 emotions and 6 desires. But he also knows very well that all of this must be hidden in his heart, or he can be lost, unwilling, and painful, but he must never show a trace of jealousy and anger. Just because this is his only choice to survive and have a pitiful limited freedom. After all, what kind of personality does the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, have? After 5 years of getting along, Menma can more or less grasp some of it. This third Hokage is not as dark, dirty, and evil as some Naruto fans in the previous life speculated, but he is definitely not as righteous, kind, and reasonable as the original work wants to show. This is an ordinary leader of a powerful organization who has the justice of the village in his heart, but also has personal selfishness. In his youth, he did a lot of commendable deeds, and he really saved Konoha from danger and led the Hidden Leaf village to the peak. But in the old age, the advantages of his personality are constantly shrinking, and the weaknesses are constantly magnified. The current third Hokage still has justice and fairness in his heart, but not much. He just wants to keep his power on the basis of maintaining the justice, peace and overall interests of the village. The rest, this third Hokage will no longer consider. Especially after he returned to the position of Hokage. Once he realizes that Menma is full of malice and hatred towards Konoha, how do you think this third Hokage will deal with Menma? Even if he is really soft-hearted and will not execute Menma directly for the sake of Minato and Kushina, he will definitely be imprisoned forever if he forcibly extracts the tailed beast and then sits and watches Menma fend for himself. Therefore, before he really has the power to protect himself, Menma will not do anything reckless, nor dare to do anything reckless. One step ahead, one step. It's time to go out today. Single quote. Menma jumped lightly and returned to the balcony, then returned to the corridor and went down the stairs. He wanted to go out in the early morning when there were few people, so that the probability of meeting ordinary people on the road would be much lower. As for the destination, it was a mountain range 1,000 meters away from his apartment. It was an area belonging to the Hidden Leaf village. In the past 2 years, it has always been a place for Menma to relax, exercise himself, and supplement extra food. Of course, Sarutobi Hiruzen would not starve himself. Some subsidies were also issued according to normal orphan standards, so there was no possibility that Menma would starve. The ninjas who were responsible for taking care of Menma were all Sarutobi Hiruzen's trusted subordinates, so it was unlikely that anything too bloody would happen. However, that was all. Going to the street to buy things, no store is willing to sell, almost everyone looks at Menma with disgust and hostility, these are real. And Menma himself began to consciously exercise his body when he was 3 years old. Although he has not yet obtained the method of refining chakra and has not been able to master this special power exclusive to this world, Menma feels that it is still necessary to exercise his body in advance. Don't think that it is not suitable for you to be too young. This is the concept of the previous life, not the common sense of humans in this world. If it is really not suitable, why would Kakashi graduate from the ninja school at the age of 5? So, Menma is really not worried about this aspect of the problem, and if you want to exercise, there will be extra consumption, and the human body needs to replenish more energy. In the absence of other channels to obtain, Menma can only be self-reliant. The fish and shrimp in the stream, the fruits and wild vegetables in the mountains and forests are all targets to choose. Walala. After finishing today's exercise, Menma also came to the edge of this familiar river. Then he plunged directly into it. After swimming for a while, he started his own fishing business. He was very skilled in his job. With the physique of an adult in his previous life, even though he was only 5 years old in this life, Menma easily fished out today's seafood ingredients from the river. Oh, winter swimming is quite exciting. It was already December. It had just snowed a few days ago. The coldness of the stream. It also made Menma tremble slightly twice. However, when he saw the rich harvest in the basket, Menma's face also showed a touch of satisfaction. And just as Menma dried himself with the towel he brought, changed into a set of underwear he brought with him, and then put on the clothes he took off before going into the water, he was about to carry the basket and leave the mountains to return home. The vague sense of surveillance that he could sense before also completely dissipated at this moment. Is it time today? Single quote. Menma did not show any expression on the surface, but he was subconsciously muttering in his heart. This seemed to come from the surveillance in the void. Menma had discovered it in an unexpected awakening 2 or 3 years ago. Combined with his own red-haired bloodline, this is very likely inherited from his mother, that is, the bloodline talent ability of the Uzumaki clan, Kagura's Heart Eye. Even though Menma cannot use chakra now. But this innate ability can still allow Menma to reversely detect many things that ordinary people cannot know, such as the several Anbu people who have always been closely monitoring and protecting him, and the telescope technique that the third Hokage often uses with that special crystal. With Menma's current ability, of course, it is impossible to accurately obtain these surveillances, but there will still be some induction, at the moment when the technique starts and ends, and the Anbu who follow closely around him. Menma cannot completely lock the exact location, but some vague breath can still be sensed, and it is foreseeable that with the improvement of Menma's own strength and the improvement of his mastery of blood limit ability, his Kagura Mind Eye may reach the level of Karen or even higher in the future. It is precisely because he has this ability. Menma will feel a little sense of security, at least he is not ignorant of everything, and when he wants to do something, he can also clearly know what time he should choose. Especially when the third Hokage is monitoring him personally, there really can't be any problems. Of course, the third Hokage doesn't have time to observe Menma every day. He basically comes every 3 or 5 days, and the time for each observation will not exceed 3 hours at most. He is the shadow of a village, and there are too many things to deal with in a day. Anyway, Menma is followed by his direct Anbu who only obeys his orders, and he is still within the scope of Konohagakure village, so Sarutobi Hiruzen naturally doesn't need to worry too much. The mountain range that walks slightly down. Now it is also noon. Unlike the time when he goes out in the early morning, on the way back, Menma carefully chooses a remote path. Because of Kagura's heart, Menma can sense the malice from ordinary people more clearly than Naruto in the original work. The reason why Menma chooses to avoid these people as much as possible is not because of other things, but because he feels that his capacity and mentality are not in place, for fear that he will perceive too much malice and accidentally show an angry expression. This is Menma's biggest taboo at this stage. He can no longer do what Naruto in the original work does, just showing reluctance and loneliness, and acting like he wants to be recognized by others. Now it is even more impossible to add fuel to the fire. It is of utmost importance to smoothly pass through the most dangerous childhood stage. In the past 5 years, Menma has always adhered to this principle. He almost never runs into anyone when he goes out. Once he senses something, he will avoid it in advance. However, there was an exception today. When Menma deliberately took a long detour outside and chose a road where almost no one usually came, he still encountered several figures on an open space near his home. In the past, Menma would have taken a detour directly. But today, he stopped, one because the figures not far away were as young as him. The other was the little girl surrounded at the center point, with her soft black hair, crystal clear white eyes, and a familiar face that was tender and weak. Hyuga Hinata. Menma also subconsciously whispered the name of the little girl in his heart. The eldest daughter of the main family of the Hyuga clan. She is also one of the most popular female characters in the original work. She was also Menma's favorite character when he read the original work in his previous life. Menma always felt that Naruto in the original time and space was really lucky. When he fell in love with Hinata, Hinata still loved him. And as the most determined Naruto Hina party in the previous life. The most important memories of the two in their childhood. Menma is very clear, and the most important communication between the two was the scene in front of them. When Hinata was bullied by other boys, Naruto stood up and left an indelible mark in Hinata's heart, even if it was a failed heroic rescue. And the scene that perfectly overlaps with this moment. Menma's heart was lifted, and that was the step to take directly. However, it was only at that moment. Stop, what are you doing? A few boys bullying a girl, are you still men? A sunny, cheerful and slightly angry childish voice sounded. The next second, a golden figure was one step ahead of Menma. It rushed straight to the near point. The open arms protected the little girl's short figure behind her. It was also when he saw the familiar blonde hair and blue eyes, and the figure that had the slightest resemblance to his own facial contours. Menma's face couldn't help but be startled. The boys who had been surrounding the little girl were also in a state of silence. One of them wanted to directly curse Moment. The obviously slightly older boy in the middle also immediately recognized the identity of the blonde boy. With quick eyes and quick hands, he pulled the simple-minded companion. Master Naruto, we were wrong, we are leaving now, we are leaving now. He quickly bowed, and his direct words also made the few little boys beside him who were still a little confused suddenly become excited. He immediately understood the identity of the blonde boy opposite him. The person in front of me is the son of the fourth Hokage who died in Konoha fighting for the village, Master Namikaze Naruto. The moment, several people also quickly bowed in greeting. The status gap between them and Naruto was very big. If their parents knew that they dared to provoke Master Naruto, they would have their butts opened up. Naruto was also stunned when he saw the frightened looks of several people. But just a second later, Naruto's rough character attributes came into play. He smiled and waved his hands and said, "Just admit your mistake. Men shouldn't bully girls." Yes, then, Master Naruto, we will be rude first." After saying this, these little boys also ran away in a hurry. If it were normal, they would definitely be eager to have a chance to have close contact with this young Master Naruto, but today they are really unlucky, and they don't know how Naruto feels about them, so it's better to slip away first. Looking at the little boys who fled like famine, Naruto was a little confused. But it's best if things can be solved smoothly. Although the identity is different from that in the original book. But Naruto seems to be the same Naruto, just the environment and mentality have undergone qualitative changes. They are all gone, you don't have to worry. What's your name? My name is Naruto Namikaze. Naruto turned around and looked at Hinata behind him, still showing that familiar hearty smile, and said to Hinata with a smile. My name is, that Hyuga Hinata. Thank you, Namikaze-kun. It seems to be the same situation. Although it is a different development. But the result is almost the same. At this moment, the little girl's eyes seemed to be full of the boy in front of her, the gentle words, and the small expression of obvious admiration. "Oh, Hinata, this is a really good name," Naruto said in a friendly manner, and the words he said also made the little girl's cheeks more rosy. The cute little hands, the gently moving hair. The eyes met each other. 3 people, 2 worlds. This is a completely different dimension. Just like 2 parallel lines that can never meet. Menma stood in a distant position, looking at the little boy and girl standing together with a slightly wooden expression. "So we are different after all, Naruto." Single quote. Finally took a look at Naruto and Hinata who were still talking with a smile. Menma's eyelids drooped slightly, and then he turned around and strode away. The same winter snow scene. But they are 2 completely different worlds. This is the huge gap between heaven and earth. Menma went away. Naruto stayed where he was. And the guards of the Hyuga clan followed. And Naruto's exclusive guards. That happy scene. Ms. Hinata, Master Naruto. That couple came earlier than the original and was more compatible. It can only be described as a match made in heaven. And all this excitement was theirs, and had nothing to do with Menma. The light waves that had just been set off also receded at this moment like a tide, extremely fast and steadily. As if nothing had happened. Menma returned home as usual. He handled the harvested ingredients expressionlessly, cooked simply, and then sat at the dining table. The unique emptiness, loneliness, and indifference were only clear to Menma himself. "I shouldn't have had such extravagant hopes. These are not for me, but for the son of the true 4th Hokage." Single quote. Menma's heart was cold. December of the 53rd year of Konoha. This was the coldest winter Menma had ever felt since he came to this world. And it was on the last day of December, when a new year was about to begin. "Little Menma, have you been resting and eating well during this period?" The amiable 3rd Hokage once again came to visit Menma with a bunch of gifts, which were all kinds of food that children liked to eat. This was something that Sarutobi Hiruzen had done at regular times in the past 5 years. Generally speaking, he would visit Menma once every month or so. Especially on New Year's Eve, which was about to usher in the new year, Sarutobi Hiruzen would not miss it, as he thought it was the best way to show his love to Menma. In fact, Naruto in the original work was moved by Sarutobi Hiruzen. He regarded Sarutobi Hiruzen as the first person he could talk to. But Menma was different. This 3rd Hokage may really have some genuine concern for him, but he still looks at him from the perspective of the ninja village and is a Hokage. Orphan, son of the 4th Hokage. No, he has only one identity, that is, the 9 tails Jinchuriki of Konohagakure village, nothing more. Yes, third grandpa, I have been resting and eating well recently, and I also exercise regularly. You see, my body is much stronger than before. No matter if it is not enough acting skills or resistance in the heart. Menma can't be as heartless as Naruto in the original work, but naturally showing some closeness to Sarutobi Hiruzen is a true performance that Menma can do. After all, he knows very well that in Konohagakure village, only Sarutobi Hiruzen can protect himself and bring himself certain freedom and rights. If you have to make a choice, Sarutobi Hiruzen is still much better than that old silver coin of Shimura Danzo. At least the former, no matter how old and foolish he is, still has a little sense of justice in his heart, and he will still pay attention to his eating manners. Danzo is completely insidious and cunning. If he falls into the hands of Danzo, that's probably something no one can accept. Hiruzen Sarutobi is better, although not much, but at least he still has some conscience. Oh, that's great. Eat more, sleep more, and exercise more, and our little Menma will be able to thrive. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Menma with a loving look on his face and said with a smile. Yes, third generation grandfather. Menma also replied with a hint of respect. New Year is coming soon. Menma, do you have any New Year's wishes? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked softly. I want to grow up quickly and become a great ninja recognized by everyone in the future. Menma wrinkled his little nose, as if thinking, then looked up at Sarutobi Hiruzen, and said in a very serious and firm tone. Oh, a great ninja recognized by everyone. This is indeed a good wish, but this wish also requires Menma to work hard on your own. Sarutobi Hiruzen touched Menma's little head and said warmly. Yes, I will definitely work hard, third generation grandfather. Menma nodded heavily and said. Well, you are about to turn 6, so you are almost the same age. You should go to ninja school next year, Menma. Sarutobi Hiruzen continued. Ninja school, really? Third generation grandfather, can I go to ninja school to study? Menma's eyes suddenly lit up, and he spoke in a slightly eager tone, looking directly at Sarutobi Hiruzen. This time Menma really didn't mean to pretend at all. As his age increased, and he was about to turn 6, Menma was always worried about whether he could enter a ninja school as he wished. You have to know the moment when you are not Naruto, but Menma. The plot of this world is already different from the original one. He could only treat everything in the original work as a reference. If you really think that what happened in the original work will definitely happen in this time and space, you are totally wrong. Isn't what just happened the best proof? His name is Uzumaki Menma, not Uzumaki Naruto. He is a realistic little boy with red hair and gray eyes, not the blonde hair and blue eyes in the original book. Before that, he was really worried that he wouldn't be able to enter the ninja school during normal hours. If he couldn't even take the first step as a ninja, how miserable would it be? How tragic it is. Therefore, now when I heard the words of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the joy on his numb face really comes from the bottom of his heart. Of course, Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't know what Menma was thinking in his heart. Just when he saw Menma's happy smile, the smile on the face of the third Hokage became stronger. He thought he was getting closer to him again. The relationship between Menma and Menma is even more benevolent to Menma. Of course, your age already meets the standards, but before entering the ninja school, there is still a small test. You can only enter if you complete it. Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a smile. What kind of test is it? Third generation grandfather, I will definitely complete it. Menma said confidently. Haha, it's the refining of chakra. Xiaomenma, you should know that for a ninja, the most important first step is to learn to master the refining of chakra. Only by mastering this can you enter the realm of ninja. On campus. Sarutobi Hiruzen gently touched Menma's little head again, then took out a scroll from his arms, placed it on the table, and said with a smile. Chakra refining. Look at the scroll on the table. The light in Menma's pupils became more and more beautiful. This is what he has wanted most in the past 5 years. Now that he finally got it, Menma couldn't hide the excitement in his heart, and it was directly reflected on his face. Yes, don't worry, third generation grandpa, I will definitely achieve it before enrolling next year. Menma patted her small chest and said confidently. Well, grandpa also believes in Amenma. Sarutobi Hiruzen leaned forward slightly, looked at Menma with an encouraging expression and said, "Cultivate feelings from an early age. Then strengthen the connection step by step." Sarutobi Hiruzen believes that in the future, this child will definitely become his strongest supporter and will 100% become the successor of the will of fire he taught. "First generation, sir. Second generation, sir. Don't worry, I will definitely protect Konoha, and the fourth generation, Naruto and Menma, I will take good care of it." Sarutobi Hiruzen thought silently in his heart. Hokage's time is precious. Even on New Year's Eve, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't be idle. However, he stayed with Menma for a while longer, and did not leave until dusk came. Menma maintained a very happy look from beginning to end. It wasn't until Sarutobi Hiruzen left that the smile on his face slowly faded away. "Ninja school. I have finally waited for this moment." Single quote. Menma gently pinched the scroll on his palm, silently thinking that his next training plan needed to be rearranged. Chakra. The official explanation is that it is the product of the perfect combination of physical energy and spiritual energy extracted from the 130 trillion cells of the human body. Of course, there are contradictory statements in the original work. Some say that this is an ability inherent in human beings, and that the Immortal of Six Paths only taught the corresponding method of refining it. It is also said that this is the result of the Sage of Six Paths distributing his chakra to humans for use. In the final analysis, it means that the chakra comes from Kagaya Otsutsuki and the sacred tree fruit. Which one is the truth? Human beings now have no way of knowing. But it doesn't seem that important. After all, humans have already mastered the method of extracting chakra, which is to extract chakra from their own cells by perfectly combining physical energy and mental energy as mentioned above. The difference is that only a small percentage of humans can do this. The vast majority of humans are unable to extract chakra. This is true even in the 5 major ninja villages. Every year in the pre-entrance test for ninja schools, a large number of people with civilian backgrounds will be rejected. How can you become a ninja if you can't even refine chakra? As for people from the ninja clan, there is no problem of being kicked out of the ninja school, because before they enter the ninja school, they have already begun to refine chakra in their own family, and ordinary people who cannot refine it are even less likely to go "I hit a wall" in ninja school. For Menma, this problem is even less of a problem. The bloodline of the Uzumaki clan. The 9-tailed Jinchuriki. If you can't extract chakra, isn't that a joke? Although there is interference from the 9 tails chakra. Menma's chakra refining was not so smooth and stable, but after a day of hard work. As this chakra, in the early morning hours of January 1st, Konoha 54. Menma finally succeeded in extracting his own chakra for the first time. "When I feel that special power." A look of joy suddenly appeared on Menma's face. Even if it's just a trace of chakra, Menma can feel that his power is far beyond what it was before. Of course, this is just a start. Although it is said that without external forces and any special factors, the chakra limit of any ninja is destined from the beginning. But this does not mean that from the moment you can extract chakra, your total chakra amount can reach the limit. And it still requires acquired efforts. Only then can the total amount of chakra reach its limit. Where is the key point? That is in terms of physical energy and mental energy. The harder you work, the faster you can reach this limit. I have the blood of the Uzumaki clan, and I have a huge vitality by nature, so I don't need to worry about physical energy. It is the mental training that must be the focus of my future. Not to mention that I still have the chakra of the 9 tails in my body as the biggest reliance. This is finally the most determined step. The next step is to speed up. Single quote. Menma exhaled a breath of foul air, clenched his hands slightly, and the look in his pupils became slightly fierce at this moment. The plan to change began. In the following period of time, Menma devoted all his time to the steady refinement and control of chakra. Not to mention how high the level needs to be, at least it must reach the level where it can be used initially. For Menma, time is very tight. It is now January of the 54th year of Konoha. There are only 6 years left before the original plot begins. He must obtain the minimum self-protection ability in these 6 years, and he can't spend these most critical 6 years as leisurely as Naruto in the original. Kakashi can graduate from ninja school at the age of 5. He was directly promoted to Jonin at the age of 12. If he hadn't suffered a blow later, he would probably have become another cage-level existence in Konohagakure before the age of 20, after Minato. Menma was not very greedy. He did not say that he hoped that he could be like Kakashi and grow into a Jonin in the next 6 years. That was impossible. Kakashi could make such a leap. One is inseparable from one's own talent, and the other is the growth brought about by the desperate battles of blood and fire again and again on the battlefield. Menma knew very well that it was impossible for him to have such conditions. The only thing you can do is to lay your foundation as solidly as possible. If you can't be a Junin, you should still have a Chunin level. In this most important stage of laying the foundation, any small step of improvement will have a qualitative impact on the future. Starting at the beginning of January, before the April admissions season, Menma devoted himself wholeheartedly to the refinement and control of chakra. When you are focused and immersed in something, time often passes very quickly. It seems to be very long, but in fact, the short period of more than 3 months is fleeting. At the end of March, the breath of early spring ushered in. Simply speaking, from the use of chakra, Menma can already say that he is a quasi-ninja. After all, he can already move at high speeds that are beyond the reach of ordinary people, and can reach extremely exaggerated heights with just a single jump. This is all over the past 3 months. Menma concentrated on polishing the results one by one. Not a trace. It's chakra like a spring. With Menma's talent in this area, even if the amount of chakra he can extract now is less than 1% of his upper limit, it can already surpass the ninja world. Most of them are ninjas. This is one of Menma's biggest strengths. In the original work, Kakashi once said that Naruto needed to use chakra to suppress the Nine Tails chakra in the past. In this way, his chakra is already 4 times that of Kakashi. If he does not need to suppress it, a simple Naruto's chakra would be 100 times that of Kakashi. It is unknown whether Menma now is the same as Naruto in the original novel. But as a Uzumaki clan, Menma's total chakra upper limit can definitely be described in a few calories. 1% upper limit. It is already a very scary number. That's almost it for today. Tomorrow is the day for admission to ninja school. It's better to go back early to rest and prepare for admission. Single quote. End today's practice. Menma stood up, stretched, and glanced at the sun that had just begun to set in the distance. After estimating the time, he planned to pack up and return to his home. Although Menma feels that time is tight, but in terms of cultivation, I am still relatively self-restrained. The physical strength of human beings in this world is far superior to that of humans in previous lives, but Menma is still a child after all, and he still needs to set a limit in terms of cultivation. The same is true for projects including cultivation. Now he is basically just doing some basic training, slightly more difficult and more complicated training. Menma doesn't know how to try it at all now. Who told him that he just started to get into contact with chakra refining this year? Including the bad chakra control training, climbing trees, treading water, etc. are all done later. He is not suitable for such a high standard practice now. Eat the meal one bite at a time. The road must be walked step by step. Menma returned home a little earlier than usual. After taking a shower and having dinner, he did some meditation and went to bed early to rest. He planned to rest comfortably for a night and face the first day of his ninja school in the fullest spirit tomorrow. However, it seemed that tonight was not going to be as smooth a transition as Menma himself expected. A completely dark night. The crescent moon slowly emerges. Under the quiet and peaceful atmosphere, Menma also fell asleep quietly as his breathing became longer and smoother. This was supposed to be a night that flew by as quickly as I closed my eyes. However, tick-tock, there was a clear and sweet sound of water droplets coming from somewhere. A sudden awakening of consciousness. This is. Menma's eyes suddenly opened, and for the first time he looked at the extremely dark space around him with a daze. But only after a second. Another memory came to mind. Menma couldn't help but shudder. This is an extremely familiar scene and atmosphere. Menma instantly realized what situation he was in. Is this the world inside me? Empty, cold, and dark. There was also a dark yet extremely dangerous aura coming from a location not far away. No need to doubt. Menma was now 100% sure that he had entered the sealed space in his body. That is, in the spiritual world where the nine-tailed demon fox is sealed. Is this a double blessing? Single quote. Menma muttered to himself. Although it was much earlier than the meeting time he had expected, he could meet the most powerful being among the tailed beasts in advance. Menma was very happy. Although Kyuubi seems to be no different from a pet in the hands of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, but let others take a look. Kyuubi will teach you how to be a good person in a minute. This is definitely my biggest support for my combat power in the future. Menma walked straight forward, walking in the direction of the source of the aura that could be called evil. A long, dark passage. The low sound of footsteps echoed around. Go straight through a passage and then make a right-angle turn. Menma came to a huge circular arch. From a closer distance, it seemed that a thick tide of scarlet chakra that could be seen with the naked eye slowly flowed away from inside. Menma's short body trembled subconsciously. After taking a deep breath, Menma now took a step forward, striding towards the inside. After entering the interior, the sight is instantly broadened. The light and shadow seemed to become slightly brighter. A giant floor-to-ceiling metal fence suddenly came into view. This is exactly what a large prison looks like. Boom. Menma's arrival. It seems to have stimulated the residents in this prison. That bright red light suddenly flashed out. Then a terrifying chakra aura surged out, and waves rolled up from the ground. A strong airflow blowing towards your face. Menma's face tightened. Hey, kid, come here a little bit more. The next second, a very seductive low voice suddenly rang in Menma's ears. Menma's expression couldn't help but be in a trance. That was the step he took subconsciously, slowly approaching the location not far away. A scarlet and violent aura. A crimson chakra cyclone slowly surrounding him. As he was entangled away from Menma's position bit by bit, the next second, Menma, who had been walking forward with a confused look on his face before, suddenly felt a shock in his heart, and the brilliance reappeared in his eyes. The clear color before was restored. Steadily stagnant steps down. When consciousness regains consciousness. Menma's face also showed a look of lingering fear, such a touch, such a temptation. It must be said that it really gave Menma a huge inner impact. Then the little head raised subconsciously. He looked at the scarlet shadow that was already a red fruit appearing in front of his eyes. This is the most powerful tailed beast in the ninja world, the 9 tails split from the 10 tails, the 9 llamas. Haha, are you so rude and direct when we first meet? This is not the attitude a good tenant should have, Kyuubi. Menma took a deep breath to calm down his extremely ups and downs, controlled his emotions, and deliberately looked at the huge figure of Kyuubi in front of him with a faint smile and said. Although he kept telling himself in his heart, he didn't need to be afraid of the Kyuubi in front of him. But the biological instinct still made Menma subconsciously fear the Kyuubi, mainly because the aura was too terrifying. Menma now felt as if he was a lone boat drifting on a sea washed by violent storms, with nowhere to rely on. The power of Kyuubi. Menma could finally feel the tip of the iceberg. And it should be noted that this is only half of the chakra of the 9 tails in its heyday. But that's half of the chakra. He is still at the level of a super shadow. Nagato, who is known as the super shadow goalkeeper in the original work, simply cannot suppress the Kyuubi. The degraded version of the Earth explosion star failed to restrain the Kyuubi at all. This is not only due to Nagato's own lack of strength, but also proves the terror of Kyuubi from the side. It seems that you have known about my existence for a long time. Kid, you are extraordinary. You are really extraordinary. The 9 llamas leaned down slightly and stared at Menma, who was closer with his huge fox pupils. There was also a trace of anthropomorphic surprise and inquiry on his face. Although Kyuubi is sealed in Menma's body, but as the most powerful tailed beast, his perception cannot be completely closed. In the past 5 years, he could still sense some external affairs through Menma. Kyuubi could also detect some of Menma's inner emotional changes, and some of Menma's external manifestations and inner feelings. The completely different mood was enough to catch Kyuubi's attention. And now, this kid actually clearly knew about his existence in advance. Interesting. This is really interesting. Of course I am extraordinary, otherwise how could I be the container to seal you? After all, this is the second time we have met, Kyuubi, at least we are now considered to have the same existence, how about it? We can definitely get along a little better. Menma seemed to be staying at home, and sat down cross-legged casually, looking at Kyuubi and saying with a smile. The second time. Kid, who do you think I am? It's a big joke to share the same life with you. I'm still getting along with you, a human being. If you hand over your body, I can think about it carefully. When Julama heard Menma's words, he laughed instead of being angry. He looked at Menma with a hint of extreme mockery and said, although the kid in front of me seems to be a little special. But after all, he is not just a 6-year-old kid. Although that red hair makes him look very dazzling, that's all. Could a 6-year-old kid still be like his mother? It's impossible to have powerful sealing abilities. The current 9 llamas really don't take Menma seriously at all. The first time was of course more than 5 years ago. Kyuubi, oh, of course I know you won't die, you are the most powerful chakra aggregate, but if I really die, the impact on you will be the same. Not too young, right? As for leaving my body to you, haha, that's no problem, as long as you think my body can handle it. Menma smiled softly, and then stepped naturally across the metal railing amid Kyuubi's suddenly shrinking pupils, and walked directly in amid Kyuubi's incredible expression. This was a choice beyond Kyuubi's expectation. And what Menma just said. More than 5 years ago. Could it be you? Julama looked at Menma with obvious shock, and for a moment he didn't know what he should say or do. Of course it was more than 5 years ago. That mysterious Sharingan masked man, the seal our parents placed on you, and my stupid brother, Kyuubi, I know everything. Mianma's eyes drooped slightly at the words spoken by Lang Yu. After Kyuubi stayed for a while. Then he laughed heartily. Ha 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 ha, is that so? Is that so? That old guy thought you didn't know anything. Although it's incredible, haha, it's interesting, it's really interesting, kid. You really are, it's different. Kuroma's fox eyes revealed a full of sarcasm at this moment. This was directed at Sarutobi Hiruzen, the 3rd Hokage. As a being that has survived for 1,000 years, the 9-tailed fox has an accurate grasp of people's hearts. It knows exactly what Sarutobi Hiruzen is planning. But now from Menma's words, the 9-tailed fox can hear that this little brat knows everything. Including his identity, his situation, and his intentions. As for whether Menma has deceived himself, please, he is the 9-tailed fox. It is a collection of malicious chakra. The negative emotions of humans are so clear in his eyes. This is still Menma's spiritual world, and the 9-tailed fox cannot read minds. But it can still be judged that Menma did not lie. In other words, this little brat in front of him really had consciousness at the moment of birth. So, we naturally have a basis for friendly coexistence and even cooperation, right? 9-tail. Humph, basis for cooperation. This is really funny. Why do you think I should cooperate with you? Little devil, huh? Kuroma looked down at Menma with a look of disdain. Haha, of course there are enough reasons. If I die, it will be somewhat disadvantageous to you, 9-tail, right? Besides, don't you yearn for freedom? 9-tail, the kind of freedom that truly belongs to you. This time, it was Menma who used a very seductive tone and smiled at 9-tail. Freedom. This is a word that Kyuubi has not heard for decades. When Menma heard it suddenly, Kyuubi was subconsciously stunned, but it was only for a moment, and Kyuubi's face showed a personified sneer again. Freedom. Haha, kid, your words are really more funny than the last, you know. How do you know it's not possible if you don't try? What's more, for you, this is something that can be done easily. It just requires you to stop using your chakra to interfere with me, and borrow your chakra for me to use when necessary. If you really fail, you won't lose anything, right? Kyuubi. Without waiting for Kyuubi to finish his words, Menma clapped his hands lightly, then shrugged and smiled lightly. Very reasonable words. Kyuubi was already showing a sarcastic look. When Menma said this, his expression was stunned, and then he subconsciously kept silent. Why should I? You don't need to believe me, just treat it as a fun thing to do in your boring life, right? If I can succeed, I can not only give you freedom, but also help you to avenge those who control you. Don't you want to take revenge? At this point, you don't need to worry about my determination, because those people are also my enemies, aren't they? Menma interrupted the 9-tails again. Let this most powerful tailed beast fall into silence again. Kurama had to admit that he was really moved by Menma's words. He really didn't need to pay anything, and it would be worse than the current situation. Anyway, he was sealed in the human body. Now there is one more choice. Just like what this kid said, if he failed, he didn't need to pay anything more, just some chakra. Hehe, you are really interesting, kid. Okay, I promise you. Let me see how far you can go. After a few snorts of laughter, the nine-tailed fox head lowered, and the pair of scarlet fox pupils stared at Menma, and spoke in a very low voice. Menma's eyes lit up when he heard the nine-tailed words. Although there was an 80% to 90% chance that he could convince the nine-tailed at the beginning, he was still afraid that this fox was an old stubborn. Of course, this probability is still very low. Some of the performances of the nine-tailed in the original book are very telling. Then it's settled, nine-tailed. Menma raised his little head and said with a smile on his face. The little hand that stretched out was clenched into a fist. After a moment of shock, the nine-tailed subconsciously stretched out his palm and clenched it into a fist to touch Menma's little hand. It was also after making this move. The nine-tailed then realized what he had done. But for some reason, I didn't feel any disgust in my heart, I just had a very wonderful feeling. Menma himself didn't expect that the nine-tailed fox would actually reach out, and the smile on his little face became more and more intense. Well, let's stop here today. Nine-tailed fox. No, Kurama. The figure slowly dissipated in the spiritual world. At the last moment, Menma's soft words, the nine-tailed fox suddenly raised his fox head, and his fox eyes were full of shock. The tailed beasts have names. But ignorant humans don't know. For thousands of years, only other tailed beasts can know their names, and that name is taken from the old man who is extremely important to the nine-tailed beasts. Now there is a human who knows his name. Kurama naturally feels unbelievable. Wait a minute, the words that he was about to shout out subconsciously. However, at that moment, Menma's figure completely disappeared in this spiritual world, leaving Kurama alone with an extremely complicated expression. This brat, why? Single quote. This doubt lingered in the brain for a long time. It made Kurama feel calm for thousands of years, and at most he felt that his angry heart was shaken for the first time at this moment. But Menma had left, and he had no way to ask the confusion in his heart. Could it be that this brat is the person the old man said? But, single quote. Unexplainable confusion. For Kurama, today's meeting was the most intense one for him in thousands of years. Looking at the place where Menma stood before he left, the light and shadow in Kurama's fox eyes also became extremely complicated. And Menma, whose consciousness had returned to his body, did not expect that the name he called out subconsciously when he left at the end would bring such a great impact to the nine tails. Menma, who was still lying flat on the bed and sleeping, also raised a beautiful arc at the corner of his mouth at this moment. It seemed that he was having an extremely sweet dream. It was at the same time that Menma and Kyubi first met. In the center of Konohagakure village, the top floor of the Hokage building, which symbolizes the supreme power of Konohagakure village, was still brightly lit at this late hour. As the Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen has just finished handling today's government affairs. Squeak. That was the door that was pushed open gently at exactly the right time. A figure almost as old as Sarutobi Hiruzen stepped into the office. Oh, Yan, you came to me so late. Is there something urgent? When Sarutobi Hiruzen saw the person coming, a faint smile appeared on his face covered with old man's lines, and he spoke softly. The person who came was none other than the person Sarutobi Hiruzen trusted most at the moment, his best friend for many years, and the current Hokage advisor, Mito Manabu. Hiruzen, do you really want Uzumaki Menma to enter the ninja school? Although Danzo's proposal is indeed a bit excessive, and it is impossible to send the nine-tailed Jinchuriki to the root to cultivate, but Danzo said that the nine-tailed Jinchuriki should be trained at the root. It's really risky for the tailed Jinchuriki to study with ordinary children, right? Why not change it and let your Anbu directly train Uzumaki Menma? I think this is the most appropriate approach. Mito Kaden stepped closer to Sarutobi Hiruzen, looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with a hint of worry and asked softly. Yan, you are worrying too much. Didn't Kushina also study in a ninja school? Isn't everything normal in the future? But Kushina's situation is different. Mito Menyon still looked disapproving. But the next words haven't come out yet. Same, don't forget that Menma is also Minato and Kushina's child. Don't you still believe in Minato and Kushina? Don't you believe in me either? He was interrupted by Hiruzen Sarutobi's tone that sounded gentle but was actually firm. Hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's firm words, Mitomen was also startled. After a short silence, he slowly nodded and said, I hope you were right, Hiruzen, maybe I am a little sensitive and think too much. Hehe, don't worry, Menma will definitely become the most steadfast pillar of our village in the future, just like Minato and Kushina. Sarutobi Hiruzen saw that his best friend finally agreed with his approach, and a faint smile appeared on his old face. Although he can make certain decisions arbitrarily as a Hokage, it is best to have the recognition and support of others. Not to mention that Mitomen is still his best friend for 40 or 50 years. If even his best friend doesn't understand and support him, that would be a big problem. The night time passed quietly. Then the dawn slowly came. Entering April, the breath of spring has become stronger. The breeze blows down, slowly scattering the falling cherry blossoms. It also adds a bit of warm color to the Hidden Leaf Village. Today is the annual opening day of the Hidden Leaf Village Ninja School, and the atmosphere of the entire Hidden Leaf Village has become extremely noisy. Early in the morning, there were countless children talking excitedly on many streets. The registration time for the ninja school has not yet arrived. There are many parents with their children flocking to the location of the ninja school. Menma also got up early. After a simple breakfast, Menma did not go out directly, because Sarutobi Hiruzen had instructed that someone would pick him up to the ninja school on the day of registration. As for who it is, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not say. But Menma can roughly guess that it is nothing more than the Yumino Iruka who lost his parents on the night of the nine-tailed fox. A young Konoha ninja with a little talent, but not much. If nothing unexpected happens, this person will be the first close person that Sarutobi Hiruzen arranged for Menma to be the most important. Being assigned such an important task by Sarutobi Hiruzen, it is enough to prove that Iruka is 100% trusted by Sarutobi Hiruzen in terms of ability and loyalty. Otherwise, the current Konohagakure village is not 30 or 40 years ago. The Nine Tails Jinchuriki has a special meaning for Konoha. Not just anyone can get the qualifications and power to approach Menma or even teach Menma. Take a look at the treatment of the protagonist during his growth period in the original work. All those who can approach the protagonist are recognized by Sarutobi Hiruzen. After graduation, the class ninja is still Kakashi, the direct subordinate of the 4th Hokage, and there are also ninjas who are qualified to become Hokage. Menma in this life will also be 100% treated the same. Sarutobi Hiruzen will never allow such an important existence as Menma to escape from his control. Either he or the person he trusts the most can approach Menma. Menma waited at home for almost half an hour. Knock, knock, knock. There was a crisp knock on the door. Menma could not sense it and could not control it at present, but a not very strong chakra breath came from the outside of the door. Menma's eyebrows raised immediately. Are you here? Single quote. Stepped forward directly, came to the entrance, and gently opened the door. The figure of a young man wearing a Konoha standard vest came into Menma's eyes. The familiar, gentle face and the scar on the bridge of the nose. Yumino Iruka. Single quote. The moment he saw the person coming, Menma's name appeared in his mind. This person had a profound impact on the protagonist in the original work, and was the first important supporting role recognized and recognized. He was regarded as a brother by the protagonist of the original work. For Menma, the mood at this moment was somewhat complicated. Because from the plot in the original work, at least this Iruka is one of the few in the original work who is not mixed with any political or other unnecessary factors. He is simply moved by the protagonist and recognizes the existence of the protagonist. He is the protagonist's first white moonlight. You are a gentle person by nature. If possible, I hope to get along with you in a friendly way. Single quote. Menma looked up at Iruka with a calm look, thinking silently in his heart, and asked softly, that. Excuse me, are you the person who came to pick me up as the third-generation grandfather said? Yes, little Menma. I am a teacher at the ninja school and your future class teacher, Yumino Iruka, you can call me Teacher Iruka. Iruka bent down slightly and gently touched Menma's little head with a gentle look, and said with a chuckle. Although Iruka's feelings for Menma at this time were still very complicated, there was still a little resentment in it. But firstly, Iruka is a gentle person just like Menma said, and secondly, Iruka is also very clear about the relationship between Menma and the Nine Tails. As a Chunin, and a person trusted by Sarutobi Hiruzen to entrust important tasks, it is impossible for him not to know about the Jinchuriki. But his parents died on the night of the Nine Tails rebellion after all. If you want Iruka to say that he has no grudge against Menma, then it must be a lie. He just restrained his emotion very well. Perhaps in Iruka's eyes, Menma is just a poor child. Yes, Iruka-sensei. Menma is naturally not aware of the complex emotions in Iruka's heart. Kagura's heart eye is not so perverted that it can see through people's hearts. It is just a powerful chakra search ability. Menma can capture a trace of changes in human emotions. That is still based on his being the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Malice perception ability, that is more or less attached. Negative emotions can naturally be detected, but only a little bit. Menma is only 6 years old now. Well, let's go, it's about time. Iruka, with a touch of gentleness, stretched out his right hand to Menma. Even if there is no reference to the plot in the original book. Just the fact that Iruka can treat Menma with such an attitude is indeed precious. At least he is worthy of his teacher status. Yeah. Menma also stretched out his left hand without any hesitation and held Iruka's hand. Two figures, one big and one small, left the dilapidated apartment building. They went straight to the location of the Hidden Leaf Village Ninja School. Parents with their children going to the ninja school can be seen everywhere along the way. Most of them are from civilian families. When these people saw Menma, their faces changed, and the malice was revealed. It was only when they saw Iruka wearing the Konoha standard vest that they barely restrained themselves. These naked malice. Menma could certainly sense it. But Menma still looked the same. For more than 5 years, nearly 6 years, Menma had long been accustomed to the sights of these people. Wasn't it just that some ignorant people were hostile and rejected him? Menma didn't care at all. He was not the Naruto in the original book who had to beg the people of Konohagakure to recognize him. In his heart, Menma was always thinking about how to survive and how to avenge his enemies. As for the others, what does it have to do with him? On the contrary, Iruka on the side seemed calm, but he was a little worried and nervous in his heart, fearing that the sights of these people would irritate Menma. However, when he saw that Menma was still calm, Iruka was relieved in his heart. After all, the emotions of the tailed beast Jinchuriki must be kept as stable as possible. If they are easy to lose control at any time, it is easy to cause the tailed beast to run away. In the past few decades, there have been several vivid examples in the ninja world. Going straight through the avenue, in a blink of an eye, you will arrive at the location of the ninja school gate. In the outer area, there was already a long queue. All of them were children of the right age who came to register, and they were all from the common people, because those who came from the ninja clan, 100% of them had already refined chakra and could become a ninja, so there was no need to take the test before admission. But these common people were different. Unless their parents were also ninjas. Otherwise, the purest kind of common people would not have the method of refining chakra, and they needed to go through the initial screening of the ninja school. Only after confirming that they had the qualifications to become a ninja could they enter the ninja school to study. Menma naturally did not need this procedure. Under the leadership of Iruka, they went directly through the main gate and entered the largest office building at the innermost part of the ninja school. After completing the relevant admission procedures, Iruka took Menma to the classroom of the class he was in charge of. Menma, starting today you are a formal ninja school student. Remember to study hard and get along well with your companions. Standing outside the classroom, Iruka squatted down, gently touched Menma's head again, and spoke in a very gentle tone. Yes, Iruka teacher, I will, don't worry. Menma nodded gently, and also responded with a touch of obedience. He was indeed not like Naruto in the original book, eager to get everyone's approval, but Menma would definitely not be indifferent to people who were kind to him, or even say bad things to them. In any case, Iruka left a good impression on Menma. This is not only in the original book, but also a feeling after personal contact in this life. Well, very good, let's go in. Iruka smiled and nodded. Then he pushed open the door of the classroom in front of him and walked in with Menma. Noisy classroom atmosphere. Even the arrival of Iruka and Menma It only attracted the attention of some children in the front row of the classroom, and most of the other children were still focused on doing their own things. Go ahead. Uruka didn't care. Kids nowadays basically have this kind of personality. He patted Menma's shoulder gently. Menma nodded and stepped down. Under the curious eyes of some kids, Menma walked calmly towards the innermost and last row. Even though these kids were different from their parents, no one looked at Menma with malicious eyes. At most, they thought Menma's red hair was more conspicuous and showed a hint of curiosity. Menma didn't intend to have too much communication with these kids. After all, they are just passers-by in life, why pay more attention to them? Only those little strong men who have a lot of roles in the original work, Menma will subconsciously take a second look. And the images of these people are too iconic, such as Nara Shikamaru, Aburame Shino, Haruno Sakura, Yamanaka Ino, etc. Of course, the ones who attracted Menma's attention the most were the other two. One of them was Hinata Hyuga, who was as pure and flawless as Shiroku, sitting quietly in a corner. The other was Sasuke Uchiha, who was still in the stage of being cocky and cool, surrounded by a group of little girls who were obviously little brats but were infinitely crazy about him. However, no matter how much he cared about it in his heart, Menma would not show it on the surface. After just a few more glances, Menma came to his seat and sat down. He held his chin with his right hand and looked at the scenery outside the window quietly. Ahem. Just when Uruka walked to the podium and coughed lightly and was about to speak. Squeak. Suddenly, the door was pushed open again. A golden figure stepped in. This time was different from the arrival of Uruka and Menma. The moment this golden figure entered the classroom, it instantly attracted the attention of most people. Those children who had not noticed it at first also subconsciously focused their attention on the door when they noticed the special expressions of their companions beside them. The moment they saw the person coming, these children also showed surprised and excited expressions one by one. Oh, it's Master Naruto. Wow, Master Naruto will be in the same class with us. This is too happy. I can actually be in the same classroom with the son of the fourth Hokage. I must tell my parents when I go back. Master Naruto, Master Naruto, especially those children of common origin, they all couldn't hide the excitement on their faces. Even Uruka on the podium was slightly stunned at this moment. Menma in the corner was also subconsciously stunned. Naruto. Single quote. It's not that he didn't expect it before, but when he saw Naruto really appear in the same class with him, Menma's heart was more or less a little ripple. Shikamaru, Shino, Kiba and others in the front seat also looked at Naruto, who appeared in the classroom at this moment with different expressions. Let's not talk about Hinata. It's clear that there is only Naruto in their eyes. The arrogant Uchiha Sasuke also rarely looked at Naruto twice at this moment. He can ignore the other people in the classroom. But Naruto is the son of the fourth Hokage, the recognized prince of the village. Even the proud Uchiha needs to be treated seriously. Ah, Mr. Uruka, Master Naruto will be studying in your class from now on, please take care of it. A young Konoha ninja who came with Naruto and was obviously Naruto's guard said to Uruka with a smile. Teacher Uruka, please give me more guidance in the future. Naruto also bowed to Uruka very politely. Although his personality is no different from the original, but under completely different treatment and situation since childhood, Naruto will have completely different performances on some external behavior issues. Because he is now the son of a hero. He is the son of the Hokage who is respected by most people in the village as Master Naruto. Oh, it's my honor, Master Naruto. Uruka also hurriedly bowed slightly, looked at Naruto with a hint of respect, and replied softly. Naruto stepping down, the cheerful and confident look on his face. Without the 6 fox whiskers, his entire temperament was completely different from that in the original work. Paired with that face that could be called handsome, Naruto stole the attention of all his peers present at this moment. The little girls who were only obsessed with Sasuke before are now looking at Naruto with obsessed eyes. After all, compared to Sasuke, the aura around Naruto is obviously much stronger. Uchiha is indeed a wealthy family in Konoha Hidden Village, but can that compare to the position of Hokage? Not to mention that the fourth Hokage died fighting to protect the village just 6 years ago. This naturally adds a special aura to Naruto, the orphan of the Hokage. Master Naruto is indeed handsome. As expected of the 4th generation master's son. Master Naruto will definitely become a great ninja like the 4th generation in the future. Ah, what should I do? Now I like both Sasuke-kun and Master Naruto. It's so hard to choose. The violent commotion caused was evident. These little guys really wanted to hang their eyes directly on Naruto. Snort, and Urzu, who had always been the center before, felt a little unhappy at this moment. He doesn't really care about those nymphomaniacs, it's just that a child's nature comes into play, and he has a natural unpleasant feeling of having something that originally belongs to him being taken away by others. Ahem, okay, everyone is here, please be quiet, classmates. I am your class teacher in the ninja school for the next 6 years, and I am also the teacher responsible for teaching you theoretical knowledge, Yumi no Iru card. I hope that in the next 6 years, you can listen carefully to the guidance of the teachers, study hard, and not let down the expectations of your parents and teachers, and become an excellent ninja in the future. Uruka put his hands on the podium, looked at the 50 or 60 little guys below with a very serious look, and said in a calm and serious tone. Yes, Uruka-sensei, no matter whether these children listened or not. As Uruka finished speaking, these little guys still straightened their bodies and replied in unison. At least for them, Uruka, wearing Konoha's standard vest, still looks majestic to a certain extent. Uruka also nodded with satisfaction. As a teaching staff, he certainly knows that education does not happen overnight. These children have just entered the ninja school. Konoha now is completely different from Konoha a few years ago. For these children the requirements should not be set too high at the beginning, but they must be guided bit by bit. Well, very good, then let's get to know each other first. If nothing else, you have been studying together in the ninja school for 6 years, so you need to get to know each other first. That's it first. Let's start with you. Just tell me your name, your dreams, and what you like. Uruka pointed to a little boy on the left side of the first row by the door and continued. Yes, Uruka-sensei. After being pointed out by Uruka, this little boy showed no sign of stage fright and stood up very excitedly. He turned sideways and faced most of his classmates and said loudly, "My name is Okazaki Tomoya, and my favorite is Dango. My dream is to become a being that can be respected by others." Well, great, next one. My name is Matsuoka Masaki, and my favorite things are all kinds of cars. My dream is to drive around the world. My name is. One self-introduction after another. Almost every little one is brave enough to introduce themselves. Everyone likes different things, but most people's dreams are almost the same. Either become a great ninja, or simply want to be Hokage. This is also a matter of course. Most of the children who were born in the 5 major ninja villages and studied in ninja schools aspired to become the shadows of their own ninja villages. Because that not only symbolizes status and strength, but also represents being respected, loved and followed by countless people. Only the self-introductions of people from the ninja clan such as Shikamaru, Shino, and Kiba are slightly different. 2 pillars. Then it still has a very current self-style. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I don't like anything in particular. My dream is to become as good a ninja as my brother. It's not the indifference that follows a big change of mood. It's a deliberately put-on attitude. But that's what little girls do. Especially with the cool look of the second pillar. Ah, wow, Sasuke-kun, Kakuichi. Most of the little girls saw the shape as a heart shape. This is the first wave of climax in the classroom. The second climax was naturally Naruto's self-introduction. Hello, classmates, my name is Namikaze Naruto. My favorite is Ichiraku ramen. I don't particularly dislike anything. My future dream is to become as great a Hokage as my father. Same style, the same words. The only difference is the education and living environment he received since childhood, which made this, Naruto Namikaze, less naughty and playful, and more polite. Oh, it's really worthy of being Master Naruto. Master Naruto. This is the son of the 4th generation. Yabe, Todoroki Yabe, the complete central figure, the existence focused by all eyes. Naruto Namikaze, Sasuke Uchiha. This is definitely the core existence of their class. Although the plot is different, the fate seems to be constant, and this has caused a sense of competition in advance. Let's not talk about Naruto. The second pillar has already regarded Naruto as an existence that he must win. As the second pillar who still admires his brother very much at this moment, his goal before entering school has always been to focus on the first place. Because that is the position his brother once easily reached. He claims to be a genius of the Uchiha clan, and he must also keep up with his brother's pace. My name is Uzumaki Menma. I don't have anything I particularly like. My future dream is to be recognized by many people. The order of succession. It was finally Menma's turn. His calm demeanor and gentle words. Not many people at the scene cared, except Naruto, who turned his head subconsciously to look at Menma when he heard Menma's self-introduction. An inexplicable emotion emerged in his heart. Did Naruto feel that Menma seemed a little bit kind to him for a moment? It seemed that he had a deep relationship with him, but this feeling disappeared in less than a second. It made Naruto seem a little dazed. However, Menma didn't look at Naruto more from beginning to end. After the self-introduction, he sat down quietly. After Naruto looked at Menma more and felt that everything was normal again. Naruto, who was quite carefree, simply stopped caring. Perhaps this was just his illusion at that moment. But what Naruto didn't notice was when he turned around and focused his attention on Iruka and the other classmates again. Menma in the back looked at his back with deep eyes. Envy, jealousy, or even a trace of resentment. Maybe all of these. But just like Naruto had a moment of intimacy with Menma, who was 100% sure that the two were biological brothers, had an even more special sense of Naruto. All his sufferings had nothing to do with Naruto, and it was impossible for Naruto to be like him, as soon as he came into this world. Can have a strong sense of self. Naruto was just a being who was half deceived by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Menma was indeed jealous of Naruto's current living environment. Even at certain moments I couldn't help but feel resentful. Why are they treated so completely differently when they are both born to the same parents? But in the end, the emotion of blood being thicker than water still restrained Menma's negative emotions. He could hate everyone else, but only with Naruto, Menma couldn't do it. This is his biological brother. Even though he was born just a little bit later than himself, he was his elder brother and Naruto was his younger brother. This was something Menma could be sure of. Another important reason is that Menma also had a younger brother in his previous life. He was also carefree and optimistic in personality, which seemed to have some overlap with Naruto. It made Menma's feelings for Naruto even more special. Naruto, I hope your future will not be on the completely opposite path to mine. Single quote. After Menma took a deep look at Naruto's back, he thought silently in his heart. Very good, this way everyone has a preliminary understanding of each other. From the moment you step into the ninja school, you can already be regarded as a quasi-ninja. How high achievements do you want to achieve in the future? Talent is one thing, hard work is another. People with a lazy mentality will not say that they will become excellent ninjas in the future. Whether you can graduate or not is a question. I think all students do not want to see their peers graduate one after another, and you will repeat the grade indefinitely, right? And this depends on your own efforts. If the foundation is not strong, the earth will shake. I hope you can keep this in mind. Iruka looked at the dozens of little guys below with a serious expression and said in a deep voice. Go in if you don't listen. Can you fully understand it? This is not very important at the moment, but the initial attitude needs to be shown. As a class teacher, Iruka doesn't want any students to fall behind too much in the next 6 years. This is his duty as a teacher. Yes, Iruka-sensei. The children below at least showed that they were still very cooperative with their homeroom teacher, and they responded in unison at this moment. Well, very good. Then, let's take the first lesson. What is a ninja, and what is the essence of a ninja? The first day of ninja school. It's so peaceful and stable. Although Menma's enrollment caused quite a stir in a certain area, it still caused too much commotion. In the Hidden Leaf Village, Sarutobi Hiruzen still has absolute prestige and power. That is to say, as the elderly get older, they become more and more indecisive. Otherwise, let alone other people, even Shimura Danzo, as long as Sarutobi Hiruzen does not allow it, it is impossible to cause any waves. In the final analysis, Danzo can make so many monsters, half of it is Danzo's problem, and the remaining half is the result of Sarutobi Hiruzen's own connivance. Therefore, Only Sarutobi Hiruzen has a firmer attitude. Menma's daily life and education won't be a big problem. In fact, on the first day after entering the ninja school, Menma encountered many strange looks from ordinary people, but no one stood up to question it because it was a Hokage order. They can discuss it privately. When there are few people around, he looks at Menma with a hostile look. But it must not be shown in public. Of course, this has no real meaning. But Menma is already satisfied, it's just some sight, and he can't let himself lose a piece of meat, so why bother? The sun sets. Dusk falls. The first day of ninja school ended. Menma was the last to leave the ninja school and stood at the main entrance, looking at the teaching building wrapped in the afterglow. Looking at the children leaving in other directions, facing the sunset. Menma's expression was slightly cold. This was not where Menma belonged. Rather, it was the cage that bound Menma. One day, he will break this cage with his own hands and gain true freedom. This is the real first step. No one can restrict my future. Single quote. After Menma took a deep breath, he turned around and walked along another path, gradually getting further and further away, and his figure gradually merged into the shadows. The beginning of ninja school career. In the coming days, Menma's life was much more regular than it had been in the past 5 years or so. It could almost be said that the rhythm of life was 3 o'clock in one line. Ninja school, home, jungle personal training ground. While constantly strengthening your physical fitness, he is also improving his control over chakra bit by bit. And just a few months after entering school, Menma officially put chakra stable control on the agenda. Climbing trees and treading water are the two most basic chakra controls. They should also be added to his training plan. In the absence of learning ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu. These basic trainings are the focus of Menma's training in recent times. When Menma devoted himself to it, time passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, it was more than a year later. It was June of the 55th year of Konoha. On a certain morning, Menma, as always, finished his morning exercise and stepped towards the ninja school. Along the way, he encountered several ninjas in a hurry. Each of them had a stern look on his face. On the avenue that must be passed, some people in the surrounding positions also had a look of shock, fear, and disbelief. What happened? Single quote. As long as there is nothing wrong with the eyes and brain, you can definitely see that something big must have happened in the village. But Menma couldn't tell what happened. However, this doubt only lasted until the ninja school, when the class time had passed, but there was still a figure that hadn't arrived. Menma suddenly realized in his heart. It turned out to be the plot of the Uchiha clan being annihilated. Single quote. Looking at the empty seat of Uchiha Sasuke, Menma also immediately recalled one of the most important plots in the original work. Uchiha clan. This is a ninja clan that has been passed down for nearly 1,000 years. It is a well-deserved wealthy ninja clan in the ninja world. In the past history, there were very few ninja clans that could compete with the Uchiha clan. In the past 100 years, there are only 1 or 2 ninja clans that can be compared with the Uchiha clan. And in the era of the 5 major countries, with the natural extinction of the Senju clan for unknown reasons, the Uchiha clan is recognized as the first wealthy family in the ninja world. Even in the Hidden Leaf village, the Hyuga clan always shouts that their ninja clan is a wealthy family that is not inferior to the Uchiha clan. But what is the reality? The eyes of people from all countries in the ninja world are like mirrors. It can be said that Uchiha represents strength. Such a ninja clan has very important significance and value for a ninja village. Not to mention much, the Uchiha clan alone has dozens of 3 Magatama Jonin, which is a very terrifying combat power. The reason why high-ranking officials like Sarutobi Hiruzen fear the Uchiha clan is because of this. Otherwise, if there are only 10 or 20, or even fewer, Jonin, do people like Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo need to worry? If the Uchiha clan is really that weak, the Anbu can wipe out the Uchiha clan n times. However, it is such an Uchiha. Destroyed. The official news released by Konoha is that it was destroyed by one person, the genius of the Uchiha clan, the son of the current Uchiha clan leader, Uchiha Itachi, who was only 12 or 13 years old. The only survivor is Uchiha Sasuke, who is also the son of the Uchiha clan leader, and the younger brother of Uchiha Itachi. It can be said that this news shocked the entire Konohagakure village. And it was quickly spread throughout the ninja world, so that the attention of other countries' ninja villages was focused on Konohagakure village at this moment. How much impact will the disappearance of a wealthy ninja clan have on Konohagakure village? This is what all major ninja villages are paying attention to. Especially Iwagakure and Kumogakure have added some troops to the border. If there is any great opportunity, it can be predicted that these two major ninja villages will not miss it. After all, the three wars have been over for 7 or 8 years, and the major ninja villages seem to have the ability to start a new round of ninja world war. As long as Konoha gives a chance. So, in the next period of time, it can be seen that the Konoha high-level leaders headed by Sarutobi Hiruzen must be nervous and highly focused to deal with all kinds of temptations that may come, and even the storm of war. And these have nothing to do with Menma now. Not to mention that he is very familiar with the original plot, and knows that it is impossible for a new round of Ninja World War to break out during this period of time. Even if it really breaks out, what? Could it be that Konoha will send him, a 7-year-old tailed beast Jinchuriki, to the front line? He only needs to concentrate on his own training. The tragedy of the Uchiha clan's genocide also just went through Menma's mind once, and then was automatically filtered out by Menma. The second pillar may become a good partner or use for him in the future, but this is definitely not a problem that can be considered now. How to make yourself stronger in the shortest time is the primary task. Menma, who no longer pays attention to this matter, still firmly follows the daily routine he has set. Menma, who has not fallen behind in theory and practice, has far surpassed the Uzumaki Naruto in the original work in this life. Menma is eager to absorb all knowledge. Naruto in the original work is purely growing up by his own talent. It's not that Uzumaki Naruto is not working hard enough, but that the protagonist in the original time and space is just working hard by his own talent. It's like a giant who only relies on one foot to move forward. Menma is different. He will not fall behind in all kinds of theoretical knowledge. It's just that it is not shown in the original work. In fact, a ninja needs to learn a lot of theoretical knowledge. If the comprehensive evaluation criteria were strictly followed, Uzumaki Naruto would never graduate in his lifetime. But the most important thing for a ninja is still personal strength. Other qualities and conditions still have to stand aside. Menma can of course distinguish between the important and the unimportant, but when he is capable, Menma hopes that he can develop in an all-round way. It can make the foundation more solid. Isn't this a good thing? Time passed quietly. The second young master of the Uchiha clan, the only survivor, Uchiha Sasuke, also returned to school a week later. What is completely different from before is, after returning, the second pillar has a cold aura. The extreme indifference on his face can be seen. This is not the previous deliberate act of coolness, but a real change in mentality. This is also inevitable. Witnessing his most respected brother killing his father and mother, and slaughtering an entire ninja clan, if he can still maintain a calm mentality, he will be determined to be a person with serious mental problems. This is the cruelty of ninjas, Sasuke-kun, and this is only the first step in your life. Single quote. Menma looked at the gloomy Nijiru with a calm look, thinking silently in his heart. The Uchiha clan was annihilated. It seemed to be just a small wave in the progress of the ninja world. This is clearly a crucial plot point for Konohagakure and the entire ninja world. But as time passes slowly, the wave that was stirred up before is also slowly fading. Not only are there not many people in the ninja village paying attention to it, even the other ninja villages above the ninja world are gradually losing their attention. Of course, this is definitely inseparable from the efforts of the Konohagakure seniors headed by Sarutobi Hiruzen. But no matter what the process is, anyway, the final result is still the same as the plot in the original work. The 5 major ninja villages did not break out a new round of Ninja World War. There are very complicated reasons for this, but the most important point is that Konohagakure did not show too weak. It seems to be the first ninja village that can suppress other countries. While the ninja villages of various countries are wary of Konoha's power, they also have to take into account the intentions of other neighbors. When they are vigilant against each other, they naturally lose the best opportunity to start a war. And these waves above the ninja world, as mentioned before, Menma doesn't care at all. unless these ninja villages can start a war that will put Konohagakure in a huge predicament, or even force them to the core of the ninja village, otherwise, it has nothing to do with Menma. Menma is still immersed in his own training. At the end of Konohagakure's 55th year, the third school year is about to begin. Menma's own training has also entered a new stage. And it was also in more than a year, nearly 2 years. Iruka obviously gradually changed his view of Menma's existence, or to be more precise, this Yumino Iruka is really a gentle person, and he is very clear about the difference between Jinchuriki and Tailed Beast. He can also easily distinguish the emotions towards the two than ordinary people. Unlike the general public, facing Jinchuriki is like facing Tailed Beast, fear, rejection and even disgust. After getting a long day and night, Menma can also perceive the gradual change in Iruka's attitude. This also makes Menma feel a little complicated. Because before this, except for his special feelings for Naruto, his blood brother, and Hinata with a little filter from his previous life, he didn't have any good feelings for other people in the Hidden Leaf village. But now Iruka's attitude change makes Menma feel a little bit restrained. Of course, this is very likely one of Sarutobi Hiruzen's strategies, just like what he did. But the most important point that makes Menma's emotions complicated is that with Sarutobi Hiruzen, Menma can definitely feel the utilitarianism. Unlike Iruka, Menma can feel the sincerity. He simply regards himself as a student who is in a miserable situation and needs care. From all the signs, he can empathize with Iruka. Because they are all orphans. This also makes Menma not know what attitude he should use to face Iruka now, especially in the future. After all, Menma is not a truly cold-blooded existence. He can't completely ignore the kindness of others. He can only take one step and see. However, Iruka is willing to pay more attention to contact with Menma, which is also a good thing. At least Menma can open a private kitchen here with Iruka. Don't think that Iruka seems to be just a chunin. But it should be noted that those who can be promoted to chunin above the ninja world are already considered to have certain talents. Not to mention that Iruka can become a teacher in the ninja school, which means he must have a solid theoretical knowledge. He can also guide many next-generation geniuses of the ninja clan, including Menma, Naruto, and Sasuke, which is enough to prove Iruka's ability and guidance. Konoha is a big ninja village. Why is it Iruka who is in charge of Menma's class instead of others? This is already very telling. Therefore, Menma trusts Iruka very much in basic training. After seeing Menma's learning attitude and learning ability, Iruka is also willing to occasionally give Menma more guidance outside of class. For example, the three-body technique that ninjas need to master in the ninja school stage. It should be taught to students in a later course. But Menma can learn it in advance. Menma also interprets what a genius is very well, especially without the interference of the Nine Tails chakra. It was just in less than a week. That is to master the three most basic and important techniques for ninjas, namely, transformation technique, substitute technique and clone technique. Of course, the so-called mastery here is just the initial use. But this has already made Iruka astonished. After all, the three-body technique is a basic technique, but it is not so easy to learn, and the chakra control requirements of the caster are not very low. When Iruka himself was learning the three-body technique, it took a week or even more time to master a single technique. Among them, the most difficult clone technique. He spent even more time. Now seeing that Menma only took a week to master the three-body technique, Iruka would naturally be amazed. But Menma himself was not very satisfied. Because, bang, bang, in terms of mastering the technique, Menma was obviously still a little unsatisfactory. Looking at the small stump that fell on the ground, Menma's brows frowned slightly. Speaking of it, the substitution technique is the easiest technique to learn among the three techniques, but it is also the most difficult technique to use, because this technique emphasizes the grasp of timing. The substitution technique does not have any characteristics of a space technique. If it is really related to the space technique, can it still be one of the basic techniques to learn in the ninja school? That is pure nonsense. To put it bluntly, this technique is just a sleight of hand. In the battle of high-level ninjas, it is not to say that it is completely useless, but it is too difficult to achieve a deceptive effect. It is the same as the transformation technique and clone technique later. There are still effects and functions, but it depends on how the caster uses it. Of course, there are higher-level clone techniques, such as water clones, earth clones, and shadow clones, which are more buggy. The substitution technique is just a substitution technique. Once the timing is not mastered well, it will directly become a joke. Menma does not mean that he must practice this technique to perfection, but he wants to use such a training method. I am further honing my control over the technique. It can be considered killing two birds with one stone. This is also true for transformation techniques. It is always right to strive for perfection. This is not something that can be achieved in a short period of time. It requires time accumulation and repeated training. It still takes a little time, or it should be used in confrontation to achieve better results. Single quote. Menma touched his chin and thought silently in his heart. Practice is the most direct way to improve personal skills and strength, but the most effective is always actual combat. Self-cultivation will always be a little bit worse. Only real fighting can truly improve ninjas, especially the fight between life and death, which makes it easier for ninjas to break through themselves. If possible, why not find a Ruka teacher to learn from him later? Well, this idea should still be okay, right? Single quote. Just when such an idea just popped up in Menma's mind. Menma, a clear voice sounded, and then, Uruka's familiar figure not far away came into Menma's eyes. Teacher Uruka, why are you here? When Menma saw Uruka, he hurried over and asked. I just went to your house to look for you, but you weren't there, so I knew you must be here. Didn't all your ninja tools wear out before? I bought you a new batch, so you don't need to use the worn ninja tools anymore. Uruka smiled slightly, then took out a sealing scroll from his arms and made hand seals. Puff! A burst of white mist suddenly appeared, and then dispersed. Puff! A slightly heavy bag of ninja tools appeared directly in front of Menma. Open it. The exposed cold black ninja tools. There are not many, but all the necessary types are there. When Menma saw it, he was also happy. Not to mention that the price of ninja tools is very high. Even if Menma has money now, he can't buy these ninja tools at all. He is still a wild beast that everyone fears in the whole ninja world. Walk to the ninja tool shop. Not being kicked out is considered that the owner is very restrained. Still want to buy things. Isn't that just joking? In the original work, Naruto's status and reputation in the ninja village changed from graduation, because ninjas have a very special status in this world, and the people living in the ninja village have a deep understanding of this. They know very well that ordinary people cannot be on the same line as ninjas. They must respect ninjas. Naruto's status in the original work also changed from the moment of graduation. In this life, Menma is still just a little guy in the ninja school. Status. That's better to wait until later. Therefore, Menma was naturally very happy when he saw Uruka brought so many ninja tools. Thank you, Uruka-sensei. I will definitely study and practice harder. Menma also looked at Uruka with a touch of joy from the bottom of his heart and thanked him. Haha, it's best if you can study hard, but you should also pay attention to the combination of work and rest. You can't practice too much at your age now, otherwise it will be counterproductive. Do you understand, Menma? Uruka chuckled and touched Menma's little head, and then changed the subject and said with a slight warning. Yes, Uruka-sensei. Uruka didn't know what kind of mood he was in when facing Menma now. Originally, he was the same as most of the people in Konoha at the beginning. It was difficult to identify with Menma as the container of the nine tails, and even had a little resentment in it. But he was not an ordinary citizen. He was a ninja, and a ninja trusted by Sarutobi Hiruzen. He naturally knew what Jinchuriki meant. To put it bluntly, intellectually, Uruka can clearly tell that the nine tails is the nine tails and Menma is Menma's. At first, he just had some emotional resistance. After nearly 2 years of getting along, Uruka really realized that Menma was a very hardworking child, and also a very pitiful child. Menma's life situation is even more miserable and pitiful than his. At least he once enjoyed the warmth of the family, while Menma was born without parents. He was accidentally found outside the village by the third Hokage and brought back. This is what Sarutobi Hiruzen vaguely said to Uruka about Menma's identity. And because of his special bloodline, he became the container of the nine tails without knowing it. Is Menma wrong? No, not at all. It should even be said that as a container of the nine tails in infancy, Menma can already be regarded as a hero of their Konohagakure village. It can only be said that things in the world can never be as common sense. That's why Iruka was more concerned about Menma. Unconsciously, he even began to treat Menma as his own brother. It's New Year again soon, and we are about to enter the 3rd year of ninja school. Next, you will enter a stage where practical training is the main focus and theoretical knowledge learning is the supplement. Although Menma is very talented in this aspect and has mastered the 3-body technique in advance, it is still not stable enough, right? You still have to be modest and cautious. You also know that there are still some students as good as you in our class. I hope you can keep this momentum and graduate with the best results in 4 years. Iruka said with a serious face. Now is not the war era. Except for those who come from the ninja clan, they will receive some exclusive guidance and training in their own families in advance. The study in the ninja school is carried out step by step. There is no need to say that some graduates must be trained quickly and then sent to the battlefield as cannon fodder. You can spend more time to steadily cultivate some low and middle level basic combat power. This is the most reliable approach. Therefore, the first 2 years are purely theoretical knowledge learning, and then accompanied by chakra training. This is a necessary foundation laying stage for the ninja school to train children. In the 3rd year, it is to focus on practical training. 3-body techniques, physical techniques, illusions, etc., were just a little bit of a sign before, and then it is really into the theme. Well, I understand, don't worry, teacher Iruka. Menma also straightened his chest and replied loudly. Well, the teacher also believes in you. I have something else to deal with, so I'll go back first. It's getting late today, you're almost done and go back to rest early, Menma. Yes, the new year is coming. Another year has passed. The 56th year of Konoha is coming. Menma has also officially entered the 3rd year of study in the ninja school. And in this year, the curriculum announced in advance by the ninja school is also packed with various practical training subjects, including but not limited to some basic physical training, throwing ninja tools, trap layout, investigation, sparring between students, and the preliminary study of the 3-body techniques, contact training and so on. And then as these courses are added, it can only be said that the number of theoretical courses has been reduced, but everything that should be included is still there. The gap between the students officially began to widen from this moment on. Or to be more precise, it starts from the 2nd year, because the real learning of pure theoretical knowledge is in the 1st year, and the 2nd year is already the preparatory course for corresponding practical training. Ninja's learning is the same as that of most students. Practical significance is always greater than theoretical learning. The gap will also be very obvious. It was also at this moment that the class became distinctly different levels. Menma naturally belongs to the 1st rung in the class. After mastering the 3-body technique in advance, Menma's overall score has always been top of the class. The 2 pillars who were ranked 1st in the original time and space can only succumb to Menma in this life and become 2nd in the class. Although Haruno Sakura, whose theoretical knowledge is incomparable, can keep pace with Menma in this aspect, her actual results are not as good. Haruno Sakura is far inferior. It can only be ranked at the lower middle level. The most important part of measuring the performance of a ninja school student is the performance in actual combat. That is to say, even if you really fail the theoretical knowledge test every time during your 6 years of studying at the ninja school, you can only pass the actual combat test and the ninjutsu test. There is a high probability that you can graduate. Chapter 11. The most classic character in this life is Naruto Namikaze. Although he is not as invincible and lame as the Naruto in the original book in terms of theoretical knowledge, it is obvious that this Naruto is the same as the other Naruto. The difference is that he has lived in a different environment since childhood. This Naruto, who knows that he is the son of a hero, is not as resistant to learning theoretical knowledge as the Naruto in the original book, and will not spend time on those boring things. Therefore, in the previous theoretical knowledge learning stage, it can be said that he can barely keep up with the pace. But it can only be regarded as the middle and lower level in the class. But in the 2nd year, he began to learn the corresponding ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu and other contents, especially after the actual combat drills in the 3rd year. The talent shown by Naruto is unparalleled. Under the perception of Menma's imperfect and mature Kagura's mind-eye, the huge chakra in Naruto's body can be clearly detected. And Naruto originally has a strong talent in ninja. The tree climbing and water treading training in the original book were all completed under the interference of the Nine Tails chakra. This is enough to explain some problems. So, in the third year of the ninja school, if we only look at the actual combat results, Naruto can keep pace with the two pillars and Menma. Of course, Menma still has a little bit of slackness, but it is not intentional to hide his shortcomings. Anyway, his current performance has been firmly in the top position in the class, so why should he show a more exaggerated side? I am not worried about anything, I just think there is no need. Time is in such an environment, passing by little, Konoha 56 years, Konoha 57 years, Konoha 58 years, until the winter of Konoha 59 years. Konoha Hidden Village. Ninja School, the first playground. All the students of Iruka's class gathered here. Swish. Bang. The actual skills confrontation here. The 2-on-2 confrontation organized by Iruka. In the past 2 or 3 years, this has become one of the most frequent courses for Menma and others. But basically, all of them are just to the point. Iruka would never let his students really get angry. Of course, there would be exceptions occasionally. This is just like the fights between some students in Menma's previous life, and even group fights. To put it bluntly, how could a young man not have a temper? Iruka could only try his best to control it. Anyway, it was basically a physical collision between these children, with the addition of substitution techniques at most. Other techniques were either impractical or not learned at all. What the children from the ninja clan learned at home was completely banned. Otherwise, this kind of actual combat confrontation, there is no meaning, especially for Inuzuka Kiba and Aburame Shino. The combat power bonus of ninja dogs and parasitic ringworms is not something that these little brats can fight against now. Oh, Menma is an exception. Even without counting the power of the Nine Tails, he is now far superior to any peer in the class. Bang. Okay, stop here. Another confrontation between two young men. After seeing that one of them was clearly in the upper hand, Iruka immediately stopped the fight between the two. These two little guys were also the type of obedient children. There was no need for Iruka to stop them. Almost as soon as Iruka finished speaking, the two stopped fighting at the same time. Afterwards, after completing the seal of reconciliation, the two also retreated to the team quickly. For such obedient children, Iruka likes them the most. It is so worry-free to lead them. Then, the next group. Iruka shifted his gaze to the other side. He was going to call out other names, but when he saw Sasuke's eyes that were obviously full of strong meaning, Iruka was stunned at first, and then he sighed secretly in his heart. But he still said, Uzumaki Menma, Uchiha Sasuke. Iruka's words had just fallen. A glimmer of fierceness flashed in the eyes of the second pillar in the team, and he strode out directly. Menma raised his eyebrows, but walked lightly to the opposite side of the second pillar with a calm expression. And in the team, every student looked at the two people standing opposite each other with a different degree of strangeness, and they all lowered their voices to communicate with each other. Because they have seen such confrontations more than once in the past 2 or 3 years. But the results of each confrontation are very regrettable. That is, Menma will definitely win Sasuke. There is no exception. Do you think Sasuke can win today? It should be difficult, right? Wasn't it the same in the previous duel? This is the 20th time, right? Almost. Menma wins every time. It depends on whether Sasuke has become stronger during this period of time. You say that Menma will stay where he is. Everyone whispered. Directly translated, few people are optimistic about the second pillar. Even Sakura Haruno, who is still the most determined fangirl of Sasuke in this life, doesn't think Sasuke will win. Haha, you must win this time, Sasuke. If you lose again, you will break the record of 30 times. While everyone was deliberately lowering their voices to discuss, there was one person who directly supported Nizuzi loudly, although the content of this support did not sound so wonderful. When Nizuzi heard this, the veins on his forehead bulged. The slightly buzzing lips. If you can get closer to see, you can vaguely see the shape of the mouth of idiot. And this seemingly well-intentioned, but definitely will be heard as a sarcastic remark by the person concerned, is our young master Naruto. It's the same sentence again. The change in living environment has not made this Naruto's personality much different from the original. He is now. It is almost the same as in the original. Shikamaru, do you think Sasuke can beat Menma this time? And on the other side, among the 3 core members of the next generation of the famous Ino-Shika-Cho combination in Konohagakure village. As usual, Akamichi Choji was holding a bag of potato chips and eating happily. He turned his head to look at Shikamaru, who was wearing the Nara clan's traditional, upward braid, and asked. It should not be possible. Although it seems that Menma only wins a little bit every time, judging from the posture, Menma should still be able to handle it with ease. Unless Sasuke has really made great progress in this period of time, the result will be the same. Shikamaru held his hands behind his head and said lazily. And from an angle that Choji did not notice, there was a hint of strangeness in his eyes when he looked at Menma. As a member of the Nara clan. And he was born with a full IQ. In this world that matures early, Shikamaru is still much more mature than his peers, and that's why. Regarding the existence of Menma, Shikamaru knows a lot more than Choji and his peers. His father Nara Shikaku is also willing to tell him these things. The boys of the Nara clan need to take on a lot of responsibilities in advance. In the 3 tribes of pig, deer and butterfly, the Nara clan has always occupied a position among the 3 clans as the decision-making brain. There is something special in the body. Single quote. Shikamaru sighed quietly inwardly, thinking silently. They are almost 12 years old, and they will officially become ninjas next year. With a special peer like Menma graduating as the same class, Shikamaru naturally needs to consider a lot more things. Not to mention the different thoughts of these little guys below. Above the venue, 2 people on opposite sides. Menma looked at Urzu's seemingly calm, but actually full of fighting appearance, and frowned slightly, recalling the previous duels again and again. Menma realized that he might have misjudged the young master's sense of confrontation. It seems that we still need to teach this second pillar a profound lesson. Single quote. Menma narrowed his eyes slightly and made up his mind inwardly. The next second, at Iruka's signal, 2 people who formed a seal of opposition. Boom, in the side forward position. Sasuke knew very well that he was at a slight disadvantage, so he had to take the lead. The previous failures could only be said to be due to his inferior skills, not to tactical errors. If he wanted to win, he had to gain an advantage in rhythm. No gaps can be exposed, no mistakes can be made. Whoosh! Chakra bursts out. The speed of this flying flash is far beyond that of ordinary people of the same age. Menma looked calm. When the waist sank, it was a release of power. From a head-on angle. The arm that shoots out in advance. The arm that swung out from top to bottom like a whip was aimed directly at Sasuke's head and swung down. Quote exclamation mark question mark quote. Wherever you look, this extremely fast black shadow came into view. Sasuke's pupils couldn't help but shrink. Forced to directly adopt a defensive posture. Pong! It fell with a dull sound. Sasuke felt a powerful attack, and his blocking posture almost broke away. How come this guy's power has become stronger again? Single quote. Sasuke gritted his lower molars. In the confrontation a month ago, Menma's power seemed not so exaggerated. Why did it seem like he couldn't withstand it with just a light touch this time? Sasuke couldn't believe that a person's power could grow so fast in such a short period of time. Then the only explanation is that this guy Menma kept his hand a month ago. Asshole. Single quote. The thought of such a possibility. Sasuke's expression became very grim. This was the most unacceptable answer for him. The more so. The more he wants to defeat Menma in front of him. If he can't even surpass a mere peer, why should he seek revenge on that man? What can we do to revive Uchiha? Drink. With a deep drink, the veins on Sasuke's forehead became more and more prominent, and he forcibly raised his arms. The numbness in my face was so strong that it swayed away. Ha! The space opened up in an instant. Menma's eyes also revealed a strange color. He didn't expect that his attack on the second pillar could be blocked. You must know that in order to quickly defeat the second pillar, he had already used 80% of his strength to deal with the second pillar as soon as possible. Looking at it now, this kid has still grown significantly. But, it's still far behind. Single quote. A sharp look flashed across Menma's pupils. Leaning forward. The distance is quickly closing again. In a flash. The angle at which the curve meanders upward. From Sasuke's perspective, Menma seemed to have completely disappeared. I was shocked. The body retracted decisively. The next second, Menma already appeared behind Sasuke on the left side. In a hurry, it was too late to make a defensive posture. Menma had already used his palm as a sword and slapped Sasuke's left shoulder hard, transmitting huge force. And the obvious pain. Sasuke's expression changed accordingly. The strength dissipated and the body bent directly. Menma also took this opportunity to stretch out his right hand and stopped on Sasuke's throat. That's it. At the same time, Iruka's voice also sounded from the side. This made Urzuzi's face become extremely gloomy, but the fact before him made him so proud that he could not refute it. He could only take a deep breath, then stand up silently, and after making the seal of reconciliation with Menma, and retreated into the queue with a blank look on his face. It looked very peaceful, but if you see Sasuke's hands that are clenched tightly, you can clearly know that the heart of this two-pillar young master must be ups and downs. Failed again. Count it up. This was already the 30th time he had lost to Menma. Although this is just an internal discussion between classmates, it goes beyond that, but as a proud Uchiha. It was Sasuke who witnessed that tragedy more than 4 years ago. It is that you cannot tolerate your own failure. But he still failed. But he couldn't show his weakness. Try hard, try harder. Uzumaki Menma, I will definitely defeat you. Single quote. Nijiru took a deep breath in his heart and thought very resolutely. Wow, Sasuke-kun lost again. Single quote. And it's the most decisive loss, right? Single quote. It's still Menma. Single quote. It seems that the first place in our class is stable. Single quote. Maybe it will be the first place in this class. Single quote. It's very likely. Single quote. That depends on the graduation exam next year. Single quote. The people in the queue below were also shocked after seeing the result of this duel. After all, it can be seen from the previous duel that Menma is a definite advantage, but Sasuke seems to have a chance to turn defeat into victory. But this time is different. Menma crushed Sasuke in a very rough and direct way. The gap between them is so obvious that anyone with good eyesight can see it. They are communicating with each other with very obscure eyes. You can't say these words in front of the loser. They are not as thick-skinned as Master Naruto. What's more, Sasuke can't beat Menma, and it's easy for them to ravage them. They don't want to offend Sasuke at this time. Iruka, who is in the upper position, also shook his head helplessly in his heart. It makes sense. Iruka was reluctant to arrange Menma and Sasuke to fight a long time ago. It's really that other little guys can't see it. Can't Iruka see the difference in strength between Menma and Sasuke? Don't think that Iruka is just a teacher in the ninja school, which seems to be very lame. You have to see who he is compared with, right? Iruka is also a serious chunin. Iruka can still easily distinguish the difference between Menma and Sasuke. It's just that Sasuke is too stubborn. In each practical course, although there are no very direct words, the attitude revealed by the eyes, Iruka can definitely see it as long as he is not blind. Iruka is unwilling to discourage the enthusiasm of the students. He can only watch Sasuke lose again and again. But this time, Menma's attack is really a bit heavy. Is he a little impatient? Single quote. Iruka glanced at Menma, who returned to the queue with a calm expression, and subconsciously had such a thought in his mind. Today's practical course is over here. This is also your last practical course in the ninja school. Today is December, and your graduation exam is coming soon. In the short time left, you must study hard and prepare for the exam. Don't make some low-level mistakes in the graduation exam. I hope to see all of you graduate smoothly. Do you understand? Check the time. It's almost time to end today's teaching. Iruka also walked lightly to the front of dozens of students including Menma, Sasuke, Naruto, Shikamaru, Hinata, etc., with a solemn look and a very serious tone. In the years without war, there are students who graduate early from the ninja school. But there are very few of them. There is no student like Uchiha Itachi who graduated directly at the age of 7 after more than a year of enrollment. In recent years, there is no one. The few who can graduate early are all over 10 years old. Now, almost all students in the ninja school have to take the regular ninja school graduation examination after 6 years of study to successfully become a genin. The general examination time is set in January. There is not much time left until January now. At most, it is less than a month. Well, Mr. Iruka, what will our graduation exam be about? Will it be the same as the previous seniors? Yes, Mr. Iruka, can you tell us in advance? As soon as Iruka's words fell, the queue below was like a drop of hot water falling into an oil pan, boiling instantly, and everyone started chirping, looking at Iruka in the upper position with shining eyes. Graduation. Becoming a ninja. This is what almost everyone in this world dreams of. Especially in the present time when peace has been maintained for a long time. The young generation who have not experienced war, even if they have heard countless words about the risks of war and the survival of ninjas from the mouths of the older generation, they cannot empathize without any personal experience. They only see the bright and powerful side of ninjas. Danger. What is that? The little guys said they are not afraid at all. They are all going to become a great ninja, and even future stars who will attack the position of Hokage. No matter whether others believe it or not, they believe in themselves anyway. Therefore, the closer they are to graduation, the more excited these little guys will be. Tell you the content of the test. You really want to do it. The test will change every year. Don't think it will be the same as before, and don't think the teacher will tell you. I can say that the content of the test is what we have learned before. As long as you prepare well and perform normally, you can graduate. When I heard the words of these little guys below, Iruka also deliberately sank his face, looked at the students in his class with a stern face, and said in a very serious tone. No way, Teacher Iruka, how can you do this? Tell us, Teacher Iruka. That's right. That is, Iruka's usual personality is too good. In the past 6 years, he has almost never yelled at students, unless they are really naughty, such as Naruto in the original book, but even so, Iruka usually convinces people with reason. The mistakes of students are also mainly taught by persuasion. Therefore, students are certainly very close to and like Iruka. But they are not very afraid of Iruka either. It can only be said that there are advantages and disadvantages. Just like now, although Iruka looks serious, no student is really scared. That's right, Teacher Iruka, just tell us directly. The one who led the booing was still Naruto. This gave Iruka a headache. Okay, today's class is over, school is over. After Iruka said this unhappily, he strode away. No way, Teacher Iruka, wait a minute, teacher. Leaving a group of little guys on the spot and, wailing. Menma also left after Iruka left. He also stepped away from the playground with a faint expression. In the past 6 years, Menma has not deliberately built a relationship with anyone. Be it the second pillar. Be it his stupid younger brother. Or the other members of the 12, Menma kept a respectful distance. There were people who came and took the initiative to talk to him. Menma also responded with the most indifferent attitude. His future is destined to be impossible to have any suitable in-depth communication with these guys. Unless some people can really wake up, or the kind of thorough one. But this is obviously a luxury. So, Menma will only firmly follow his own path. Others, just a passerby in his life. Either he succeeds or he fails. There is absolutely no third way to choose, and even if there is a third way, it will not be the one that Menma is willing to accept. Menma's departure naturally attracted the attention of some classmates, but they have long been accustomed to it. After all, when it comes to indifferent expressions, Sasuke is the number one in the class, and Menma still has a formal smile occasionally. Therefore, these classmates at most think that Menma's personality is a little cold. Only a few people, such as Shikamaru, and some extremely thoughtful girls can more or less sense the deeper sense of alienation hidden under Menma's appearance. But these people will not say it out loud. They don't pay attention to or care about the thoughts of the classmates behind them. Menma strode away and went straight back to his home, unlike his classmates who were looking forward to graduation. For Menma, the arrival of Konoha's 60th year. But it means the opening of the original plot. Orochimaru's attack, Konoha's collapse plan, Uchiha Itachi, Jiraiya, Tsunade and others who returned to Konoha. And the Akatsuki organization that is about to take action. Among these people, each of them may become Menma's mortal enemy. Menma has a greater sense of urgency than Sasuke. His elder brother will not really hurt him, although Nijira himself does not know, he is still full of revenge. But Menma is different. The 9 tails in his body is a big problem. Be it Konoha, be it Akatsuki, they will definitely keep a close eye on him. He must gain the power to protect himself in the shortest time, and then have a more complete plan and clear goals. In the past few years, he has gradually clarified his thoughts and the next steps. The former is a little more difficult. Just staying in the ninja school as a good student, you can't really have any explosive growth. Menma has worked very hard. But now he is just a chunin in terms of personal strength. What's the point of being the king among a group of little brats? His enemies are the people who step on the pyramid of the ninja world. This does not include Black Zetsu and Obito who are hiding in the shadows, and Madara who is waiting in the Pure Land. Oh, and the goddess of the moon who has been waiting for 1,000 years. These enemies are more terrifying and exaggerated than each other. How could Menma relax? He also wanted to graduate early, but the reason for graduation was different from everyone else. Kuroma, with my current physical fitness, how many tails of chakra can I withstand? Single quote. Menma walked home with a calm face, but in his inner world, he formed a spiritual body and asked the lazily lying on the ground. Now, humph, at most it's 3 tails of chakra. The 9 tails opened his eyes, glanced at Menma, snorted, and said with a disdainful tone. Since the meeting in early Konoha 55. In the next 5 years, nearly 6 years, Menma would enter the spiritual world in his body from time to chat with the 9 tails, and as they chatted, they deepened their understanding of each other. Of course, there were also more doubts. This refers to the 9 tails on one side. He found that Menma was really a cloud of fog. Not only did he know his name, he also knew the names of the other 8-tailed beasts. Not to mention the things about Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, even the things that happened 1,000 years ago. This kid seemed to have hinted that he also had a certain degree of understanding in the words. This was enough to shock the 9 tails. Menma certainly did not tell everything he knew, and he did not have any intention of revealing his true identity. He just wanted to tell the 9 tails in this way. He was very special, so special that they, the group of tailed beasts, had to look at him differently. This was also the way Menma thought it was easiest to gain the 9 tails' trust, after comprehensive consideration. In fact, this approach was indeed very effective. Do you want to say that the 9 tails really accepted Menma? The answer must be no. However, Menma has really penetrated into the heart of the 9 tails, forcing this demon fox who has lived for 1,000 years to face up to Menma's existence, not to mention that the exchange conditions proposed by Menma before were very tempting. Many factors are superimposed. This is what created the special relationship between Menma and the 9 tails now. Much earlier than in the original work, Menma can now borrow the power of the 9 tails, but he has never actually used it once. The reason is very simple. He is still under surveillance. Even if Sarutobi Hiruzen is not watching him 24 hours a day, don't forget that there are other Anbu. Menma doesn't want to reveal that he can use the power of the 9 tails too early. Although there is no direct verbal evidence in the original work, it can be judged that the Anbu's surveillance was cancelled after he officially graduated. After all, the leader is that Hatake Kakashi. If a situation that even Kakashi can't handle arises, and several Anbu can't do anything, Sarutobi Hiruzen will naturally cancel the Anbu's monitoring and protection mission. If nothing unexpected happens in this life, Menma will also be truly free after graduating next year. Now he still needs to be patient. Therefore, Menma can't really judge how much of the 9 tails chakra limit his current physical strength can withstand. Let alone the fact that he can't be considered to be in tune with the 9 tails at all. Even if he really reaches that level, he can't bear what he can't bear. The power of the tailed beast is not so easy to use. Is it only the level of 3 tails? That's still a bit insufficient. Single quote. Menma frowned when he heard the 9 tails words, and whispered in his heart. The chakra of 3 tails should be able to sweep the level of Jonin, but if it is against the level of Kage, it is still not enough. Menma's psychological bottom line is that before the Chunin exam, he can withstand the chakra of 4 or even 5 tails of the 9 tails. In that case, he could truly be said to have the power to protect himself. HMPH, saying there are 3 tails is just my optimistic statement. You haven't used my chakra once, who knows how well you can adapt. If the malice in the chakra really corrodes your consciousness, HMPH, then even I can't help you. The 9 tails raised his eyelids and looked at Menma with a very disgusted tone. Menma was stunned at first, and then nodded slowly. That's true, even if the 9 tails chakra is not under the subjective control of the 9 tails. The corrosive power is still exaggerated. This not only refers to the corrosiveness of the body, but the spiritual level is the top priority. If you are not careful, once you are controlled by the negative emotions in the chakra, it is indeed easy to lose yourself. Well, I understand what you mean, Kurama. I will be cautious, and it is indeed time to find a time to test your power. Menma said in a slightly low voice. HMPH, that's your business. I will only do what we agreed on before. As for the rest, I'm not interested in anything. The 9-tailed fox snorted again, and then lay down again, which was a bit hypocritical. Menma couldn't help but smile. But he didn't expose the 9-tailed fox. Being able to maintain such a relationship was enough for Menma. Next, it's the official stage. Single quote. Menma looked back at the Hokage building standing not far away, and a faint bright color appeared in his pupils at this moment. And at the same time that Menma was walking step by step on the path he had set, on the other side, Iruka, who had finished his classes for the day, did not stay in school or return to his home, but came to Menma's place. The Hokage building he was looking at. Different from ordinary teachers in other ordinary classes. There are many important people in the class that Iruka is responsible for. Not even mentioning Menma, Naruto, and Sasuke. Shikamaru, Ino, Shino, Choji, Kiba and others below are all the emerging next generation of the major ninja clans in the village. For this reason alone, Iruka, at least in terms of specialness, is higher than other teachers over the past few years. Iruka would come to the Hokage building every 3 to 5 to report on the situation. Especially Menma and Sasuke. The 2 of them are the right people to pay attention to at the highest level. One has the 9 tails in his body, and the other has an older brother who has the Mangekyo Sharingan turned on to take care of him. The top management of Konoha F4, headed by Sarutobi Hiruzen, had to treat it with caution. Iruka is also very aware of this, and pays great attention to their learning and the most important mental outlook in daily education. Today, I am also following the order of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Hokage, to come for regular reports, and this is probably the last and most important report before graduation. Hokage-sama. The corridor is easy to navigate. This is directly in the Hokage's exclusive office. As soon as he entered the door, Iruka knelt down on one knee, looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with a touch of respect, who was still busy writing and handling copywriting in the first position, and lowered his head in greeting. Ah, it's Iruka. No need to be polite. Get up. Wait a moment while I finish reading this document. Yes, 3rd generation Sama. After Iruka bowed his head slightly in response, he slowly stood up and stood closer with his hands tied, waiting quietly like that. Not long after, Sarutobi Hiruzen also finished processing the last document. He looked up at Iruka in his lower position. Iruka. With a slight shout. Yes, 3rd generation, this is the list. Iruka understood it, stepped forward, and handed a document he brought to Sarutobi Hiruzen. This document records the daily performance of some of the little guys in the class Iruka is responsible for. Of course, the focus is on Menma and the others. Well, I've worked hard for you these past few years, Iruka. Read what is recorded in the file. Sarutobi Hiruzen also had a faint smile on his face. Sarutobi Hiruzen was really satisfied with Iruka's character, who would report everything in detail. It was also based on this that Iruka was chosen to lead this class. The second pillar was purely accidental. Menma and Naruto, this pair of brothers must choose their instructors carefully. They are both children of Minato and Kushina. The former is the current 9 tails Jinchuriki of Konoha Hidden Village. Sarutobi Hiruzen is also thinking about it. After a long time, Iruka was chosen. A candidate who satisfies him in all 3 aspects: loyalty, ability, and character. Now it seems that this candidate is not wrong at all. 6 years later, the entire class is well managed. Although Menma's child is still a bit colder in personality, overall, he is still growing up normally. That's enough. Sarutobi Hiruzen has lived for so many years, and he knows more or less what the Jinchuriki of each village is like. He has always been worried about whether Menma, who has been a Jinchuriki since he was a child, will be similar or even worse, of expansion. Everything seems normal now. The next step is to follow this path and further cultivate Menma's identity and loyalty to the village, as well as mutual trust with other people. Only in this way can Menma become the most steadfast and important pillar of the village, just like Lord Uzumaki Mito and Uzumaki Kushina back then. This was Sarutobi Hiruzen's expectation. No, everything is my responsibility and obligation. Uruka still lowered his head and replied with a hint of respect. Well, I will consider your suggestion carefully. You should also pay close attention to the graduation examination. This is the last step, and you must take it more safely. Sarutobi Hiruzen said softly. Yes, third generation Sama. Uruka suddenly lowered his head and responded. Immediately, it was also under the gentle wave of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Uruka took 2 steps back, turned and left the Hokage's office. It's been 12 years, time flies so fast. Single quote. Sarutobi Hiruzen leaned back slightly, glanced at the photos of past Hokages hanging on the other side, and fixed his gaze on the 4th photo, which was the photo of Namikaze Minato. Minato, you and Kushina's children have all grown up vigorously. I believe they will inherit your will of fire and become the staunchest defenders of Konoha. Single quote. There was also a hint of emotion in the pair of cloudy eyes. Then he took out a dark scroll from the drawer on the left, spread it out, and glanced at it one by one. Finally settled on one of the names above. This doesn't require any hesitation. Sarutobi Hiruzen made up his mind in his heart. Let him lead the team. Single quote. This is an extremely suitable candidate, and it can even be said that he is the only candidate. At least in Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart. In the current Konohagakure village. There is no one more suitable than him to lead Menma after graduation. The son of Konoha White Fang, the direct subordinate of the 4th Hokage, is Hitaki Kakashi, one of the most determined heirs of the will of fire in Sarutobi Hiruzen's mind. Shin, 3rd generation. This is the decision made. Words shouted softly. The next second, a dark figure appeared out of thin air and greeted with a very respectful tone. Go inform Kakashi and ask him to come see me in the evening. Yes. After the figure answered in a low voice, he jumped and disappeared on the spot. After this Anbu left. Sarutobi Hiruzen also held his pipe in his mouth, stood up and walked to the large French window behind him, looking at the gradually darkening scenery outside the window, took a deep breath, and gently exhaled a smoke ring. It's New Year again soon. Single quote. Time passed quickly. December passed in the blink of an eye. It was January of the 60th year of Konoha. Menma, Naruto, Sasuke and others also officially ushered in their graduation examination. It was still the graduation examination that was almost unchanged from the original work, the mastery of the 3 body techniques. Among them, the clone technique is the top priority. But this is no problem for Menma. Clone technique. In a large classroom in the ninja school, Menma stood in the center, and with his hands in a seal, he easily released the clone technique. Well, passed. When he saw the 2 intangible clones appearing beside Menma. Uruka, who was the graduation examiner on the main seat, also nodded with satisfaction and said with a smile. The assessment of theoretical knowledge ended as early as yesterday. It's basically just a formality. The highlight is today's practical skills assessment, of which the 3 body technique is the most important part. Generally speaking, as long as the candidates can successfully master the 3 body technique, they can graduate successfully, because this means that the candidates he has already begun to possess the strength to become a genin. To put it bluntly, such a being, even if he pulls his hips, judging from the experience of past wars, he can still become a qualified cannon fodder. Even on the battlefield facing terrifying enemies at the shadow level, it can still consume a person's chakra or physical strength. The famous 3rd Raikage Eye was dragged to death by the Iwagakure village's crowd tactics. Of course, in that war, the 3rd Raikage also made the Iwa ninja side pay a heavy price of more than 4 figures in casualties. Therefore, from this point of view, the genin at the lowest level still plays a certain role. Theory is one thing. After all, ninjas still depend on their immediate combat capabilities. Menma has always been at the top of the list for 6 years. Whether it was yesterday's theoretical knowledge test or today's practical skills test, there really was no problem at all, and he was the best performance. Unless something unexpected happens, Menma will still graduate successfully at the top of his class, or even his grade. As Menma's teacher, Uruka, who already treats Menma as his own brother, is naturally very satisfied. As expected of Menma-kun, who has been number 1 in the class for 6 years. This time, it seems that Nana will be number 1 among the graduates. Are you right, Uruka-sensei? A young man with a gentle smile standing side by side with Uruka also said with a smile at this moment. This young man is also the person in charge of this graduation assessment. He is also a staff member of the ninja school. He is also the first mini-boss character to appear in the original work, Mizuki. Just looking at the appearance at this moment, Mizuki is just like a moderate teacher like Uruka. But Menma at the scene was very aware of this guy's dark side. Speaking of Mizuki, in the past few years, Menma had successfully mastered the clone technique subconsciously, but he regretted it soon after he released it easily in front of Uruka. Because when he was learning the clone technique, Menma subconsciously ignored an important plot during his graduation. That is the theft of the sealed book. That's because I can get extra benefits in the Book of Sealings by being honest. Unfortunately, I accidentally mastered the clone technique. I can't pretend that I don't know it later, so I can only regret missing this plot. Anyway, the sealed book may not be genuine, or even if it is genuine, you may not really be able to see all the contents on it. Menma didn't believe that Naruto, in the original work, could really steal the sealed book so easily. He could only take it away smoothly with Sarutobi Hiruzen's acquiescence. In other words, everything is under their control. Including Mizuki. There may be a little accident, but there is no chance of anything going wrong as a whole, otherwise it would be insulting Sarutobi Hiruzen's IQ. Therefore, the true value of that sealed book is a question mark. As for the bug ninjutsu of Shadow Clone, for Menma, it is still necessary. The amount of chakra he has is also very exaggerated, and he also has the chakra of the 9 tails as a base. The Shadow Clone is also a technique tailor-made for him. It is most suitable for multiplier training to fix bugs. Got it. There is no way this time. But there is Kakashi, and even the future Jiraiya is worth looking forward to. There is no need to worry at all. Menma still doesn't believe it, he can't get the Shadow Clone technique. Haha, this also depends on the assessment results of other students. No, this is your forehead protector, Menma. Remember to attend the graduation ceremony tomorrow. There are some arrangements that need to be notified later. Uruka first chuckled and shook his head, then looked at Menma walking up, reached out and took a forehead protector from the table on one side and handed it to Menma in the opposite position. Yes, Mr. Uruka, then I will be rude first. After Menma took the forehead protector, he bowed slightly and saluted Uruka and Mizuki, then turned and left the classroom. Although he was a little curious about what Mizuki, who was determined to fall for Orochimaru, would do without him, he wouldn't spend too much thought and time on it. After all, he is just a small person. In the original book, Naruto needed to rely on the multiple shadow clones he had just learned to use the human sea tactic to drown Mizuki. Menma is not needed. Pure personal strength is enough to deal with Mizuki. Not to mention he still has the power of Kyuubi. To put it bluntly, if Menma doesn't consider the consequences now, there is a certain probability that he can break the deadlock with Konoha fish. Naturally, a being like Mizuki couldn't get into Menma's eyes. But what Menma didn't notice was that at that moment, Mizuki looked at his back with a faintly strange look in his eyes. After Menma left, candidates who came in one after another also successfully passed the graduation examination. Almost no one made obvious mistakes, or even failed. Different from the standards of earlier times. In recent years, almost no candidates have failed the graduation examination, and Menma's class is no exception. Except for a few unlucky ones, the remaining candidates have all passed the examination successfully. Although there is a real highlight later, the separate examination of the leading Jonin and Chunin, the failed ones will still be sent back. The first clip in the original work can prove that some leading ninjas, including Kakashi, have indeed sent the graduated students back to the ninja school. Kakashi is the most exaggerated. For several consecutive years, all of them were sent back, and no team could pass his examination. It may be that Kakashi's identity is a bit special and he can have such autonomy, but it is enough to show that this is not an exception but a default rule. Of course, most of these little guys are still not aware of this matter. They are still very happy after getting the forehead protectors. As soon as the examination is over, they went to dinner to celebrate one after another. As the undisputed Core C position of this year's graduates, Naruto also called on his classmates to celebrate together at the end of the assessment. Thanks to Naruto's status, most people accepted the invitation, but only a small number of people did not agree. Menma was one of them. Naruto and other classmates did not care. After all, it has been 6 years. Who doesn't know whose personality? Jijuzi also refused the invitation. The young master of the Uchiha family was not interested in participating in such a pediatric party. His goal is always unique and firm. Among the rest of the people, even the laziest Shikamaru went to attend this party. After all, Shikamaru's IQ and EQ were maxed out, not to mention that Choji was the one who was most willing to attend the dinner. As Choji's best friend, Shikamaru still had to attend. As for whether Naruto could handle too many people, there was no problem at all. Naruto was still the same Naruto, and in this life, he still had the halo of the son of a hero, the fourth Hokage. The inheritance of Minato and Kushina was a large sum of money. This expense, Naruto didn't need to care at all. Besides, although Naruto's personality was still so carefree, with the innocence and passion of the original time and space, he had to be a little more mature after all because of the different circumstances, and he was not a person who would spend money recklessly. In his opinion, this was the most reasonable expense. Just as Naruto took most of the class to the barbecue restaurant to celebrate graduation, Menma also went to his familiar training ground. After completing the daily training tasks there, he staggered back home. Next is the official arrival of the original plot. He must plan it well. The Chunin exam is just a few months away. Before that, he naturally needs to make all necessary preparations. However, surprises and accidents always come quietly under unexpected circumstances. On this night, Menma had just finished washing and was about to go to bed. Not far away, a familiar chakra breath suddenly appeared within Menma's perception range. Just as Menma's expression was slightly startled, a thought of, could it be, came up in his heart. Dong dong dong. The owner of this chakra breath has already arrived at the door of Menma's residence and gently knocked on the door of Menma's house. Huh, come to me at this time. Is the inertia of the plot really so strong? Single quote. Menma subconsciously murmured a few words. He also walked lightly to the entrance. He gently opened the door. Teacher Mizuki, why are you here so late? Is there something wrong? Although he knew that this guy definitely came with bad intentions. But on the surface, Menma still pretended to be surprised and said to Mizuki, who was obviously pretending to smile. Hehe, of course there is an urgent matter. It is about your graduates. Because the regulations this year are a little special, the top 10 graduates, especially the first candidate, will be given special treatment, such as class division, and some students, including you, in the morning assessment, performed very similarly. Therefore, after asking the Hokage, the school added an additional assessment. Only those who can pass it can be considered the best graduates and can get preferential treatment. Of course, it depends on the candidates themselves. How about it, Menma, do you want to take the assessment? Mizuki said to Menma with a smile on his face. A speech full of mistakes and omissions. Any adult with a little experience and normal IQ would not be fooled by such a low-quality lie. But Shuimu seemed to be 100% sure that Menma would win. After all, in Shuimu's heart, aren't these just a bunch of little brats who have no experience in the world? He was the teacher who taught them for 6 years, so Shuimu naturally had enough confidence that Menma would definitely believe his words. As for whether he would participate, haha, there are still boys who don't care about honor. Otherwise, why did this Menma-kun strive for the first place in every exam in the past 6 years, regardless of theory or practice? Isn't it because the boy is very competitive? Shuimu is not worried at all that Menma will not join the pit. Top 10. And there are special rewards and preferential treatment. As Shuimu expected, When his words fell, Menma's eyes were obviously brightened, and he whispered with a tone of eagerness to try. In the past 6 years, although Menma did not do it deliberately, the attitude he showed to the outside world was that he would strive for the first place in every assessment. In fact, Menma always beats his companions and achieves the best results. In the eyes of many people outside, this is what Menma, who is a little introverted, chooses to do in order to get recognition from others. Sarutobi Hiruzen thinks so. After all, Menma also said in front of him that he wanted to be a great ninja. Combined with his personal situation, isn't this the driving force behind Menma's efforts? Mizuki naturally thinks that Menma will definitely participate in such a special test, and he is also a teacher in the ninja school. In the past few years, like Iruka, he is a teacher respected by students. Mizuki has sufficient reason to believe that Menma will not doubt himself. This little boss who can be called a villain doesn't know that everything Menma is showing now is to cooperate with his performance. Can I ask what the test is first? Teacher Mizuki. Menma took a deep breath and asked Mizuki with a cautious look. Of course, the content of the assessment is very simple. It is one of the regular tasks of ninjas stealing confidential elements. The target is a scroll called the Book of Sealing. This is a scroll that records some of the more advanced ninjutsu in our village. It was often used as quest items and rewards in the past. Your assessment is to obtain this quest item at the corresponding location within 2 hours. Mizuki smiled slightly. He deliberately tampered with some important content, and then said it in very tempting language on top of some words. Sealed book. Reward. Could it be? Menma asked Mizuki with a hint of joy in his pupils. Is that what you were thinking about? After you successfully obtain this book of seals, you can also learn the spells recorded on it. The number of options is 3. How about it? This reward is rich enough. There are all the ninjutsu above. It's Class B. Mizuki smiled slightly, and his tone became more and more like a weasel deceiving the chicken. Assessment of the top 10. There are also opportunities to learn ninjutsu above B level. Humph, I don't believe it, you're still in the trap. Single quote. Mizuki had a smile on his face and was thinking proudly in his heart. As expected, when he finished his words, I agree to take part in the assessment. Teacher Mizuki, please tell me the details of the task. Menma almost didn't need to think about anything. He looked up at Mizuki and said with a very firm look. Haha, I knew Menma-kun would definitely participate. This is the detailed content of the assessment. It includes the location of the target item and the final assessment point that needs to be reached. Teacher Iruka and I will be at the assessment point. Looking forward to your arrival, Menma-kun. I wish you good luck in martial arts. Mizuki took out a prepared scroll and handed it to Menma, and finished this sentence with a smile. After seeing Menma take the scroll with a confident look on his face. It is also a vertical body shape. He left the place full of joy. And after watching Mizuki's figure gradually go away, sink into the thick night, and completely disappear from his perception range. A trace of sarcasm flashed across Menma's pupils, but it quickly disappeared in less than a second. On the surface, Menma still looked excited and thrilled. Mizuki didn't know. Didn't Menma know that there were still surveillances from the Anbu around him at this moment? What's more, almost a few minutes after Mizuki arrived, the vague sense of surveillance came again. There is no doubt that this is Sarutobi Hiruzen's surveillance of himself. Using that special telescope technique, as long as he is within the range of Konohagakure village and captures a specific chakra aura, Sarutobi Hiruzen can detect everything. Now is the critical moment to get into the play. Menma can't laugh. After suppressing the feeling of laughing wildly, he read the details of the assessment recorded in the assessment task scroll very normally. Menma also returned to his house, changed his clothes, and equipped himself with ninja tools. Menma also leapt. He left his house. He rushed towards the mission location recorded in the scroll, which was the residence of Sarutobi Hiruzen. On the way, none of the Anbu following closely around him came out to stop him. This was almost a foregone conclusion. The slightly tense heartstring in Menma's heart was also relaxed a lot. Sarutobi Hiruzen was obviously very clear about his actions. But he didn't let anyone come out to stop him. This attitude was very telling. Then, he went straight to the residence of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Hokage, and easily climbed over the outer wall and entered the interior of the house. Still no one came out to stop him. At this moment, Menma also eliminated the last trace of worry in his heart. Sarutobi Hiruzen still deliberately let him take the seal book as in the original book. Since then, Menma boldly entered the innermost part of this mansion. According to what Mizuki told him, he came directly to the study of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Logically speaking, Mizuki should not know such information. But Menma was too lazy to investigate the reason. He sneaked directly into Sarutobi Hiruzen's study. He didn't need to spend any effort and time, and easily found the giant scroll placed in the corner. It's really worry-free and labor-saving. Just put it outside for me to take. Single quote. Menma smiled and shook his head in his heart. Then he also carried the giant scroll directly on his back. With a leap, he left the mansion and flew towards the area agreed with Mizuki. Since he has already been on the stage, the play will naturally continue. Otherwise, it will not end well. Now he is still under the surveillance of the third-generation Hokage. Hokage Building. In the exclusive office, Sarutobi Hiruzen relied on his special crystal ball. After seeing Menma take away the seal scroll, a faint smile appeared on his old face. As the Hokage who has been in charge of the ninja village for 30 or 40 years, I dare not say that I can know any movement in the village, but actions like Mizuki, unless they have been hiding in the shadows, once exposed, and close to a special person like Menma. If Sarutobi Hiruzen still doesn't know, he will be a Hokage in vain. This is a small compensation. Single quote. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the high-speed Menma and thought silently in his heart. Of course, Sarutobi Hiruzen had another sentence hidden in his heart, that is, this is also a final small test for Menma. Then, Sarutobi Hiruzen also deliberately waited a little longer, giving Menma a little more time, before issuing an order to gather a group of currently idle middle and lower ninjas, including several ninja school teachers including Iruka. It was also a pretense to launch a search mission. But in fact, the Anbu directly under the Hokage arranged by Sarutobi Hiruzen has always been far behind Menma. These people are the elite of the Anbu selected by Sarutobi Hiruzen himself. Each of them is stronger than the average elite Chunin at the lowest. Let alone Mizuki. A few more are not a problem. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen issued an order for these Anbu not to act rashly. The Book of Seals was a small compensation and test for Menma. Mizuki's accident was also a test and tempering for Menma by Sarutobi Hiruzen. As an experienced ninja, Sarutobi Hiruzen knew too well that the real strong can only grow up in the battle of blood and fire. Mizuki, whose strength is only that of an ordinary Chunin, or even a little worse, is the most suitable to be the first enemy of Menma when he officially enters the ninja world. Sarutobi Hiruzen also has high expectations for Menma. Nine-tailed Jinchuriki. This itself is a synonym for powerful. In addition, Menma is also the child of Minato and Kushina, so Sarutobi Hiruzen is naturally optimistic about Menma's future and firmly believes that Menma will become a hero of Konohagakure like Minato. This cannot be completely said to be Sarutobi Hiruzen's wishful thinking. After all, the attitude shown by Menma in the past 12 years is enough for this third-generation Hokage to have such expectations, and the original work is not as expected by Sarutobi Hiruzen. What a pity. Menma is Menma. He will never become the righteous Uzumaki Naruto in the original work, seeking the recognition of the people of Konohagakure, and forgiving the enemy who can almost be called the murderer of his father and mother. He even wants to rely on his own justice and efforts to realize a peaceful world where everyone understands each other. Sorry, such a hot-blooded idiot. It will definitely not be Menma's life choice. He just wants to live happily. That's all. Menma's life is destined to go completely against Sarutobi Hiruzen's expectations. It's just that Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't have expected this now, and it was under the order of the third Hokage. The Konoha ninjas who were summoned also spread out in twos and threes with a very solemn look, and went to search for Mizuki and Menma. Iruka was also among them. Iruka, who was also unaware of the details of the inside story, was full of anxiety at the moment. The Book of Seals. Why would Menma steal the Book of Seals? What did Mizuki say to Menma? Single quote. The past 6 years of getting along. Iruka firmly believed that Menma was just a child who was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. Although he had a certain degree of resentment towards some people in the village, this was also within the reasonable range. Being rejected and isolated by others, or even disgusted, isn't it normal to have a little negative emotion? So, these are all things that Iruka can understand and accept. He always thought that Menma was a good kid. But now, he actually did something so outrageous. Yes, in Iruka's opinion, it was outrageous. What is the sealed book? It is a top secret that records all the forbidden techniques of the village. It is something that only the successive Hokage and a few people who are allowed to view. We must find Menma as soon as possible. Mistakes cannot continue to extend. Single quote. Iruka clenched his hands tightly and thought secretly in his heart. Menma, who was being talked about by Iruka, was now in a jungle a short distance away from the area agreed with Mizuki, leisurely preparing to open the sealed book and observe the high-level ninjutsu, secret techniques, and even forbidden techniques recorded in it. The fool Naruto in the original book learned such a multiple shadow clone technique. Menma in this life hopes to have more. But just as Menma himself guessed at the beginning, since Sarutobi Hiruzen can boldly allow Menma to take the sealed book, it is impossible that there are no precautions. The Anbu hanging behind is a one-handed arrangement. On the book of sealing, the cunning Sarutobi Hiruzen also prepared a trick. And this trick was arranged. It was to make Menma's psychological changes at this moment as exciting as possible. Looking at the scroll that only spread out the front part, and then it did not move at all, no matter how hard he tried to pull it, he could not open it further. Menma's face seemed unchanged, but his heart suddenly sank, and he cursed in his heart. I said, how could this old guy bring me the book of sealing so confidently? It turned out that the corresponding sealing technique had been set on it, and the content behind it could not be seen at all. Single quote. This should be a safety measure of Sarutobi Hiruzen. In the original work, Naruto's scalp was numb just by seeing the technique of multiple shadow clones, and he did not turn it down, so naturally he did not trigger this sealing technique. But Menma was different. His target was still on the Flying Thunder God technique, and the Shiki Fujin technique. The former is a first-rate technique for both combat and escape. The latter is purely because Menma is very interested in the so-called Death God, and wants to study it. But now, everything is in vain. Sarutobi Hiruzen does not give any chance at all. The technique that can be seen is limited to the Rasengan. Remote monitoring of the telescope technique. Several directly subordinate elite Anbu follow closely. And then add the special seal arrangement in the Book of Sealing. This third Hokage really does not have to worry about any problems, but it is hard for Menma. It is not that there is no expectation at the beginning, but people are always easy to have a fluke mentality. After getting something, they always want more. It can be said that it is a common human problem to be greedy for more. Forget it, anyway, it was expected at the beginning. If you can't see it, then you can't see it. After all, it's not nothing. Single quote. Menma exhaled lightly and readjusted his mentality. At least there is not only one multiple shadow clone. At least there are several A-level ninjutsu, Rasengan, Shuriken shadow clone, and even a sealing technique, 5 elements seal. These are also high-value techniques. For Menma, this trip is worth it. Time is a little tight, hurry up. Single quote. Menma looked up at the moon half covered by dark clouds, and whispered this sentence. He also buried his head and studied these techniques very seriously. It is not necessary to master these techniques in such a short time, but as long as he can remember the core of the techniques, it will be fine, including the Rasengan of the sealess technique. Menma probably still remembers how Jiraiya taught Naruto to learn Rasengan in the original work, but after all, his memory is not so clear. Some details may be overlooked. Now the Book of Seals contains the most detailed records of his father Minato Namikaze and his own experience. As long as he writes them all down, it is only a matter of time to master the Rasengan. Time passed by 1 second at a time. Menma also forcibly imprinted all the limited A-level and above technique cores into his brain in the shortest time. Of course, the first one he mastered was still the multiple shadow clone technique. It must be said that at this point, Menma seemed to have perfectly inherited the same talent in this aspect as the protagonist in the original work. Almost at a glance, he could master this technique 100%. Of course, this technique itself is not difficult, and the mark of the technique is just a ning. Generally speaking, as long as a ninja with a higher level can learn it, but learning it does not mean that you can use it. Let alone the multiple shadow clone technique, even the ordinary shadow clone technique requires a very high chakra from the ninja. Generally speaking, the clones have to share the chakra of the main body. Although this technique can be mastered to the highest level, it can control the amount of chakra allocated to the clones by the main body. But even so, it is not something that ordinary ninjas can afford. To put it bluntly, this technique is based on the situation. People with abundant chakra can use it easily, but people with little chakra, this technique is not suitable for such people. Normally, even though the ordinary shadow clone technique is only B level, it can only be used by a Jonin. However, this is no problem for Menma. Even if the Nine Tails chakra is not counted, the chakra he can use without the Nine Tails interference is already dozens of cards, or even hundreds of cards. A mere shadow clone technique can be easily mastered. It's almost time, so I'd better go see that lovely teacher Mizuki as soon as possible. Single quote. After estimating that the time is almost up, Menma also closed the seal book again, and then carried the giant scroll as usual, and then jumped up and went to the other side at a very fast speed. The location of the assessment delivery point agreed with Mizuki. The distance is only one step away. When Menma arrived on the open space, Shuimu's upright figure had already appeared there in advance. When he saw Menma really appear with the giant scroll of the sealed book on his back, the pupils of this villain boss could not help but reveal a touch of ecstasy. Originally, he was not very sure in his heart. At most, he felt that it was 50-50. The only advantage was that he felt that even if he failed, he would not be exposed. The responsibility and risk could be completely pushed onto Menma alone. As a nine-tailed demon fox, it was normal for him to do anything against the village. It can be said that in Shuimu's view, his preparations were perfect and foolproof. And now when he saw the result was the most perfect one. Shuimu naturally couldn't suppress the joy in his heart. Teacher Shuimu, this is the mission target, the sealed book. I should have completed the mission. And this was before Shuimu officially turned against him. Menma also had a normal expression. He stepped forward and came directly to Mizuki's close position. He put down the sealed book and said, "Well, of course it counts, ha 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 ha." Mizuki took the sealed book with a smile on his face, and when he slightly opened it and saw the ninjutsu recorded in it, he obviously couldn't help laughing wildly. "Mizuki teacher, what's wrong with you? And, where is Aruka teacher? How should I evaluate my mission?" When Menma showed a hint of doubt, "Menma-kun, you did a great job, really good, Aruka." "Oh, he's not here, your mission evaluation. Then you just need to die, and everything will be perfect." Mizuki's face changed, and his expression became extremely cold in an instant. Swish, with a flip of his right hand, the kunai that was taken out directly. It stabbed fiercely at Menma's face. Menma seemed to have just reacted. The pupils shrank suddenly, and he took a step back a little at that moment. With a tilt of his head, buzz, the kunai missed. When Mizuki showed a look of surprise, Menma bent his legs, exploded, and quickly pulled away. "Teacher Mizuki, what are you doing?" Menma looked at Mizuki not far away with a look of shock and confusion. Acting still needs to be done in full. At that moment, Menma did turn around and attack Mizuki, achieving the effect of a one-hit kill, but Mizuki had not completely exploded. Menma also had to pretend to be ignorant. All the reactions were instinctive, weren't they? This is in line with the image of a 12-year-old boy. "You know, Mizuki is a teacher at the ninja school. What are you doing? Didn't I say that you have to die here? This story will be perfect." "Uzumaki Menma-kun," Mizuki said sinisterly. "Died here? Why, Teacher Mizuki, you..." Menma seemed to still not understand a little bit, and asked Mizuki with a look of shock and anger. "Why, that's because you were deceived by me, ha 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 ha. Do you really think this is a temporary test? How stupid do you have to be to believe me? To tell you the truth, Menma, you are just a useful pawn used by me to help me steal the top-secret seal book of this village." Mizuki looked at Menma with a very pleasant mocking look. "What?" Menma looked at Mizuki with a look of disbelief, and his pupils were full of shock. It can be said that at this moment Menma was really involved, as if he had returned to the activities of the club drama club when he was studying in his previous life. This kind of acting that is fully committed. Although it is still far from the real acting school, it is already realistic enough to deceive most people. Mizuki is not a meticulous and high IQ villain. At most, they can only be regarded as some clever villain bosses, and the third Hokage is remotely monitoring them from the Hokage building. The telescope technique under the crystal. There will be some distortion, not to mention that this is a high-altitude angle. Naturally, no one can see the flaws in Menma's performance. Mizuki is still enjoying Menma's shocked look at this moment. He looks at Menma with a completely happy and evil expression. Haha, do you really think this is just a scroll that records a slightly more advanced ninjutsu as a prize? No, kid, this contains all the advanced ninjutsu, forbidden techniques, and secret techniques above A level in the entire Hidden Leaf Village. It is a top secret that only the successive Hokage are qualified to view. Stealing such a thing, do you think it's just a test? No, this is an act of betrayal. Oh, of course, you are the only one who betrayed the village. I will kill you, the little kid who betrayed the village, and then this sealed book that records countless ninjutsu and forbidden techniques will belong to me. Ha 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 ha. Unbridled laughter. This is completely to vent the joy and pride in the heart. Menma also cooperated very well and his expression suddenly became extremely angry. In fact, in his heart, Menma couldn't help laughing out loud. This guy is really too cooperative. He doesn't need to be lured with words. He just said everything. He is afraid that his achievements will not be known by others. He looks like a villain who has succeeded. He really performed it vividly. The most important thing is that you all know that this thing is the top secret of the village. Why do you think it will be stolen so easily? He really has no brains at all. Menma couldn't help but feel pity for this guy. No wonder he is the first small boss. So, you want to betray the village. Teacher Mizuki. And you deceived me. Menma looked at Mizuki not far away with an angry look on his face. His clenched fists and the blue veins on his forehead really showed that Menma was completely into the role. Hey, betrayal. I'm just pursuing the truth of ninja, which is powerful strength. A mere ninja village. What does that mean? And deceive you. Kid, who do you think you are? For 12 years, no one in the village has been close to you, and everyone has rejected you. Don't you have any doubts at all? Shuimu showed a devilish expression and sneered at Menma. This guy, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was in the Hokage building, changed his face when he heard what Shuimu said. This development was beyond Sarutobi Hiruzen's expectations. However, the third Hokage at this moment could not do anything. He could only watch Shuimu say the next sentence. That is, your true identity is not a human being at all, but the nine-tailed demon fox that caused chaos in the entire Hidden Leaf Village 12 years ago, causing the deaths of many Konoha ninjas and people, and even the fourth Hokage who died in battle. Shuimu looked at Menma with an evil and ferocious face, and said grimly. It seems that he wants to use such a way of words to severely hurt Menma mentally. But what Shuimu doesn't know is that Menma is not the one in the original book, and it is impossible for him to be touched by such words. However, in order to cooperate with Shuimu's performance, he also widened his eyes, and his slightly trembling body and slightly buzzing lips. This acting is really into the wood. Shuimu also seems to enjoy seeing Menma's shaken expression. Including Uruka, his parents also died 12 years ago. Do you really think Uruka cares about you? No. He wants to kill you. You are a person that the whole village hates and is hostile to, Uzumaki Menma. Shuimu said with a sneer. What's the point of simple physical destruction? He wants to completely destroy this kid on the spiritual level, and then completely eliminate him physically. This is not only to satisfy my own bad taste. It is also a safe approach. After all, Mizuki is very familiar with Menma's performance in the past 6 years, and in the brief confrontation just now, although I didn't sneak attack in a complete posture, Menma was able to dodge it. This is enough to show that Menma's strength cannot be measured by ordinary ninja school rookies. To be safe, let him shake mentally first, so that Menma can't exert half of his strength, and I can easily harvest Menma's life. Although Mizuki is not a smart person, but he still has this little cleverness. Otherwise, he would not be able to become a chunin in Konohagakure village, and he could also teach in the ninja school. His stupidity is also relative. If he is really that kind of brainless, it is impossible to be promoted to Chunin. Now, although he was a little bit lazy, it was also because Menma was only 12 years old. Mizuki subconsciously looked down on Menma. This was already a cautious performance. Menma certainly didn't know what Mizuki was planning. As for Mizuki deliberately revealing his identity as a demon fox, he was not shaken in his heart. So, go to hell, demon fox kid. Looking at Menma, who seemed to have been completely shaken, a trace of disdain flashed in Mizuki's pupils. Boom. With a burst of chakra under his feet, he also rushed towards the position where Menma was not far away. Now the delay time is a bit long. There is still time for the aftermath. Menma must be killed as soon as possible, otherwise if other Konoha ninjas follow him, it is very likely that things will become extremely troublesome. The distance is shortened by the galloping. The kunai that appeared on the palm of his hand reflected a beautiful cold light under the moonlight. Go to hell, kid. This attack seemed to be a sure win. It aimed directly at Menma's throat and stabbed hard. But it was at the critical moment. Kang. In an instant, another cold light appeared. It blocked Shuimu's attack accurately and powerfully, and Shuimu was stunned subconsciously, as if he had not yet fully reacted. Menma's extremely angry expression was reflected in Shuimu's eyes. Demon fox. Traitor to the village. No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. You are the one who betrayed the village, teacher Shuimu. The one who is going to die is you. Menma's roar seemed to vent all his anger, and the bloodthirsty color appeared in his pupils. What? Shuimu didn't have time to react. The next second, there was a violent vibration on his arm. Boom. As far as the eye can see, Menma swung his arms vigorously, and the huge force swept over. Mizuki's face changed drastically in an instant, and he couldn't resist the rebound. Kang. A sharp sound fell. Zzz, accompanied by the sparks that burst out. Mizuki's body shook uncontrollably, and his arms were completely swung open. The middle door was wide open. A sharp and cold light flashed in Menma's pupils. He stepped forward. With a shake of his body, he went straight to Mizuki's vital point. Not good. In a flash, Mizuki's shocked and angry face was reflected on the cold edge of the kunai. Without thinking, he immediately swung his arms back horizontally. Blocked the kunai in the front position. Mizuki wanted to follow suit, and while blocking Menma's attack, he used the force to pull the position apart. However, stupid. Single quote. At this close distance, you can almost hear each other's heartbeats. What is Mizuki thinking? Can't Menma see through it? This is obviously a collision on a completely different level. Menma reversed and pulled horizontally quickly, and directly changed the trick. It was 3 times faster than Mizuki, a Chunin, and Mizuki had no time to react. Swish. The kunai was pulled hard. It stabbed directly at Mizuki's arm. Poochie. The dull sound of metal piercing through flesh and blood fell, and the kunai was pulled sharply, and blood splashed everywhere. Mizuki was in pain. Ah! He let out a shrill scream, and his expression became very distorted. Although he was a Chunin, Mizuki had been away from the front line for 6 or 7 years, and all this time he stayed in the comfortable ninja school. His physical fitness and mental state are far from being comparable to those when he was fighting on the front line. This little pain has already stimulated Shuimu. More importantly, the power displayed by Menma. It made Shuimu feel terrified. Is this just a kid who just graduated? Shuimu, whose will was completely shaken and whose courage was completely lost, no longer had any thoughts of defeating Menma and taking away the sealed book. Now he just wanted to leave immediately. He didn't want to die. He wanted to live. He still has great ambitions to realize. A hint of madness appeared in Shuimu's pupils. Shuimu wanted to advance strongly, force Menma back, and then give himself more room to maneuver. Menma could see through Shuimu's intentions at the first time, and a beautiful arc appeared on the corner of his mouth. Shua. Menma changed his moves 1 step ahead. With a twist of his body, the right leg kicked out with all his strength, hitting Shuimu's chest heavily, venting the power. Bang! The chest cavity was obviously sunken. Wow! When a mouthful of scarlet blood was spit out, Shuimu's figure also flashed out like a cannonball. Bang! He hit the ground behind him heavily, and then raised a fierce dust. Under the double blow, the whole body began to twitch violently. Before Shuimu got up again and adjusted his posture, Swoosh. Menma had already come over and stood on top of Shwimu. How can you do that? The figure that came into view. And the ferocious look on Menma's face. In the midst of Shwimu's bloodshot expression, Menma bent his arm, pointed his elbow downward, and hit Shwimu's abdomen heavily. Bang! A dull thumping sound fell. Wow, that was almost a completely deformed abdomen. When Shwimu suddenly spit out blood again, the expression on his face became extremely distorted. The intense pain that spread throughout the body. It was transmitted to the brain in an instant. The uncontrollable tremor. The next second, Shwimu, who lost consciousness in an instant due to the severe pain, also tilted his head and fainted directly. The victory was easily won. Menma's face and heart did not have any excitement. After all, Mizuki is just a chunin, and he has been away from the front line for many years. If we really talk about strength, he can only bully those real genin, and he is not that strong. There is no sense of accomplishment in defeating such an enemy. Naruto in the original work can do it easily. The me in this time and space is much stronger than that Naruto. If I can't do it with ease, I can buy a piece of tofu and hit myself to death. However, on the surface, Menma deliberately revealed a complex expression that was partly angry and partly confused. He was still under the surveillance of the third Hokage. As someone who had just learned his true identity and defeated Mizuki out of anger, he had to control his expression. Sarutobi Hiruzen must not be able to see anything unusual. In addition, Mizuki must not die. The following scenes still need this main supporting role. Demon Fox. I am indeed. Menma deliberately pursed his lips, with a bitter smile, shook his head gently, and after whispering such a sentence, he sighed softly. This really took all aspects into consideration. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was monitoring from a distance, naturally did not see anything unusual. The third Hokage would never have thought that a child under 12 years old would have such realistic acting skills and such deep scheming. At this moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen was still worried about Menma's mentality. However, it seems that Menma's mentality is still stable, but he is a little confused, so Sarutobi Hiruzen did not seem to be very anxious. And it was when Sarutobi Hiruzen was considering whether he needed to do something. Swoosh. A straight figure also rushed into Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes. Under the moonlight, when he saw Iruka's familiar face, Sarutobi Hiruzen's slightly tense heartstrings also relaxed a little. With the arrival of this special guardian of Menma who he chose, and Menma's emotions are still stable now, everything should be within the controllable range. Sarutobi Hiruzen can see it. Menma can also sense the arrival of his own teacher Iruka in advance. Originally, Menma was planning to take Mizuki back to surrender on his own initiative, but now he can wait directly for Iruka's arrival, which is perfect. Of course, Menma did not forget or save any of the superficial efforts. One turn around, straight up in a defensive posture. Menma, don't be nervous, it's me. When Iruka saw his alert posture and quickly spoke out to reveal his identity, Menma also naturally showed a relaxed expression. Then, he perfectly connected with a touch of guilt, uneasiness, a little alienation and even suspicion as he looked at Iruka who came to a closer position. That complicated expression, and the steps that were definitely based on instinct and subconsciously retreated well explained what it means to be a teenager with a shaken mentality. Iruka didn't know what happened before, but Iruka saw Menma's expression and actions. Then combined with the fallen Mizuki and the huge seal book, Iruka felt like he had guessed something. Don't worry, Menma, the teacher believes in you. There must be some accidents here, right? Tell the teacher everything, okay? If there is really any problem, the teacher will definitely help you deal with it, including teacher Mizuki. Tell the teacher everything, okay? It is obvious that Menma's mentality is not very stable at the moment. Iruka just stopped where he was, no longer provoking Menma further, and then used the gentlest tone to try to calm Menma's excited emotions. Menma smiled as if he was self-deprecating, and still looked at Iruka with a hint of inexplicable color. Can I really trust you, teacher Iruka? That sounded obviously very frivolous, without any strength and credibility. Iruka's heart tightened immediately. Of course, Menma, I am. Even if I am the demon fox that killed your parents 12 years ago, will you still believe me? Instead of treating me as the biggest disaster of the village like Mizuki and the ordinary people. Before Iruka had just opened his mouth and finished speaking, Menma's eyes suddenly raised, and the words he spoke in a hurry were accompanied by a trace of hesitation and doubt on his face. Unlike the previous moment when facing Mizuki, almost all of it was acting. At this moment, facing Iruka, Menma's words and expressions, including his mentality, may not all be acting, because after 6 years of getting along, and the bits and pieces shown in the original book, are enough to prove that Iruka really cares about him. Menma doesn't care about this village. His previous thoughts and plans were unlikely to waver. Originally, he only had that stupid brother who needed to be taken care of, but now, Iruka had to be taken into account. Menma didn't know what he was thinking. Was he hoping that Iruka was a completely fake person, or was he really hoping that Iruka was a close person who treated him like a brother? Menma himself couldn't figure it out. This direct reaction to his emotions. Iruka was stunned for a moment. Menma, although Iruka is not an extremely intelligent person, he can be trusted by Hiruzen Sarutobi and serve as a guardian, to educate and guide Menma, which is enough to show his excellence in many aspects. Just by saying this, Iruka could vaguely guess that what happened here was probably completely different from what he had imagined before. Mizuki. It's very possible that he played an extremely disgraceful role in Menma's stealing of the sealed book. Of course this is very important. But for now, Menma's mental state is the first priority. This is Iruka's judgment. No, Menma, you are not a demon fox. In the teacher's mind, you are the boy named Uzumaki Menma. I don't know where you got this information, but, Menma, what the teacher wants to tell you is, you are you, and the demon fox is the demon fox. The two of you have never been the same existence. It should even be said that you are the hero of the village. The other people in the village do not understand you now and even reject you. But the teacher, I believe that you will be able to gain their recognition and understanding through your own efforts. Menma, believe in the teacher, believe in yourself, and especially believe in Hokage-sama. Come back, all problems can be solved. Iruka stretched out his right hand, looked at Menma who was not far away seriously, and spoke softly but firmly enough. Thoughts that come from the heart. Iruka had no intention of deceiving Menma at this moment. He really treats Menma as a young boy. As he said himself, the demon fox is the demon fox and Menma is Menma. Moreover, Menma, who was used as a container to seal the nine-tailed demon fox when he was a baby, should not be hated and isolated by the people of Konoha, but should be treated as a hero. These are the 6 years I spent with Menma. One of Iruka's truest thoughts and opinions. That firm look and soft tone. Ordinary people would think that this person is trustworthy, not to mention that Menma still has the most orthodox Uzumaki bloodline, huge power of perception, and the unique ability of the nine tails to sense malice, which is far better than that of his mother Uzumaki Cushion Nana, Uzumaki Korin and the special Kagura Heart Eye. Korin can sense the coldness and warmth of chakra. At this moment, Menma could easily sense Iruka's sincere heart. He didn't deceive himself. In that moment, Menma didn't know whether he was simply happy in his heart, or if he had some other emotion. But at least I still feel relieved. Saying this may be a bit pretentious, or even a little pretentious, but after all, Menma still cannot completely ignore the good intentions of others. In his previous life, he was really just an ordinary person. Myanmar will not repay kindness with kindness, but it is even less likely to repay kindness with hatred. Repay kindness with kindness, repay hatred with kindness. This is the life creed that Menma has always adhered to. Even Iruka may not be talking about virtue. Looking at Menma who remained silent for a long time. It also made Iruka's inner uneasiness gradually expand, just when Iruka thought he was going to screw up. Well, I believe you, Mr. Iruka. If you are not trustworthy, then maybe there is really no one trustworthy. After Menma took a deep breath, he looked at Iruka with the same serious expression and said this. When I heard Menma's words, it's not just Iruka. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen, who once thought he would not take action immediately, breathed a sigh of relief at this moment. This third-generation Hokage also appreciates and recognizes Iruka more and more from the bottom of his heart. I also felt in my heart that it was the right thing to do to hand Menma into Iruka's hands. Next, I just need to use Iruka and myself as the fulcrum to let Menma gain recognition and closeness from more people. You will definitely become the hero of Konohagakure and what you want to see. This is a wish that Sarutobi Hiruzen has always had. Uruka also showed a smile and nodded slightly. After clearly seeing Menma relax, he also walked lightly to Menma's side. Then tell the teacher now what happened, Menma. Yes, Uruka-sensei. Menma nodded, and after sorting out his thoughts, he recounted the incident from beginning to end in plain language, including the fact that he opened and read the sealed book. Anyway, these are all under the supervision of Sarutobi Hiruzen, so they are completely okay. While Uruka was listening, his expression was constantly changing. He really didn't expect that Mizuki would stir up the matter. From the most normal perspective, without considering any unexpected factors, it is impossible for most people to believe what Menma said. But at this moment, Uruka was willing to believe what Menma said, both intellectually and emotionally. This is not only due to the commitment stated before. It was Uruka's own subjective judgment after spending so many years with Menma. He didn't think, nor did he believe that Menma would be such a bad boy. Well, I believe what you said, Menma, but this time things are indeed a bit big. Take Mizuki with you, let's go back and report to the third generation. Don't worry, I believe that the third generation will also believe in you. Uruka said after taking a deep breath. As if to enhance the credibility of his words and calm Menma's emotions, he patted Menma's shoulder slightly hard. Well, I also believe in the third generation grandfather. Menma raised his head and said seriously. Following from that, Uruka and Menma, one carrying Mizuki and the other carrying the Book of Sealing, left the forest far away from the core area of the village and flew back towards the direction of the Hokage building. Under the crystal. After seeing this scene and hearing Menma's words, Sarutobi Hiruzen also had a faint and gentle smile on his old face. Get along over the years. This is not the kind of relationship he pursues. Now it seems, Menma has fully met his expectations, and this last little test was passed perfectly. Minato, your child has really grown up. Whether it's Naruto or Menma, he will definitely become a staunch defender of the will of fire like you in the future. Single quote. Sarutobi Hiruzen let out a breath of turbid air and thought silently in his heart. On the other side, Uruka and Menma, who were speeding back all the way, had just approached the Hokage building. Two people in Anbu uniforms appeared close to Uruka and Menma. Uruka was suddenly shocked, but he didn't wait for Uruka to say anything. Leave the traitorous ninja Mizuki to us, the Hokage is already waiting for you inside. The Anbu on the left spoke with a hoarse tone. This is clearly a direct and general statement. Not to mention Menma, who already knew everything. Uruka, who reacted quickly enough, immediately relaxed his tense heartstrings when he heard the words, Rebel Ninja Mizuki. Since Mizuki is defined as a traitor, then everything that follows is very simple. Although Uruka is a little concerned about why the village reacted so quickly, he is still very clear about his duty. In many cases, in many things, pretending to be confused is the right approach. Uruka is no longer the naive rookie who just graduated from the ninja school. Let's go, Menma. After handing Mizuki over to the Anbu on the opposite side, Uruka also smiled and said to Menma on the side in the most gentle tone. It seems that this method can relieve Menma's nervousness. But in fact, most of Menma's expressions are pretended. There is no ripple in his heart at all. Sarutobi Hiruzen was monitored throughout the whole process, and none of the Anbu behind him took action. This can fully explain Sarutobi Hiruzen's attitude, and there is also the plot in the original book as a reference, unless there is really an accident. Otherwise, Menma doesn't need to worry about anything. Yes, Uruka-sensei, it can only be said that Menma's acting skills are really getting better. The two went straight into the Hokage building and walked down the stairs to the most special office on the top floor. Knock the door gently. Come in. After Sarutobi Hiruzen's slightly low voice sounded inside, Uruka also pushed the door open carefully. After entering with Menma. When Uruka was about to kneel on one knee with Menma to salute, Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled and waved his hand to stop the two. Okay, there's no need to be so reserved, Uruka, Menma, you two, I already know what happened just now. It's not your fault, Menma, and you have also made contributions, so there's no need to worry. Then he said with a gentle smile. Clear, plain words. As Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen doesn't need to beat around the bush at all, and this is still facing Uruka and Menma. Sarutobi Hiruzen doesn't need to pretend to be serious, he can just express his attitude directly. After hearing these words, Uruka, who had already expected and prepared before, completely put his hanging heart back into his stomach. Sarutobi Hiruzen is not Tsunade or Minato. As the Hokage who was once in crisis, and then led Konoha to rise all the way, and was in charge of Konoha Hidden Village for 30 or 40 years, Sarutobi Hiruzen was in the village. He has supreme prestige, and his words are enough to decide everything in this 3-acre area of Konoha Hidden Village. Yes, Hokage-sama. Uruka also had a hint of excitement on his face and quickly lowered his head in response. Only Menma on the side still looked up at Hiruzen Sarutobi in the upper position with a very obvious look of worry and uneasiness. He took a deep breath and said as if to muster up all the courage, but I also peeked at the sealed book, which seems to be the village's top secret that only Hokage-sama in the past is qualified to read. My identity is still. You are you, Menma. You are the child I have seen since childhood. I have always believed in you. You have no other identity. You are the ninja of Konoha Hidden Village, Uzumaki Menma. This is my identity. You can ignore the Hokage's recognition of you and other people's opinions. It will be enough to prove it with your own actual actions in the future. As for the sealed book, it doesn't matter. Didn't you defeat the rebel Mizuki? This is your reward. You don't need to worry about anything at this point, Menma. He didn't wait for Menma to finish his words. Sarutobi Hiruzen chuckled and shook his head, interrupting Menma with soft words. The endless gentleness revealed in his pupils, at first glance and hearing, it really seemed that he was speaking with the most sincerity. He is like a kind old man who cares deeply about his children and grandchildren. Perhaps Sarutobi Hiruzen did have a few words that came from his heart. But Menma was more willing to believe everything Sarutobi Hiruzen did, and all the words he said were based on the righteousness of safeguarding the so-called Hidden Leaf Village. Menma would not be deceived by Sarutobi Hiruzen's outward appearance. Or to be more precise, Sarutobi Hiruzen's righteousness and Konoha's righteousness are not his righteousness. This village is not his destination. His future lies outside, in any other possibility, except not it will be in Konoha Hidden Village. Of course, on the surface, Menma still had to show a relaxed and excited look on purpose, looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen with bright eyes, and replied with a touch of gratitude, yes, third-generation grandpa. It seemed to be a look of sincere joy and joy. Then he came into the sight of Sarutobi Hiruzen. A touch of satisfaction appeared in the heart of the third Hokage. What he wants is such an expansion and such a result. Everything is under control. Let's end this matter here. It's very late today. Isn't there still a graduation ceremony tomorrow? You two should go back and rest early. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the two of them and said warmly. Starting from 22 o'clock in the night, after going back and forth, the time that has passed has now become more than 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Yes, Hokage-sama, third-generation grandfather. Uruka and Menma bowed and responded. They just exited this Hokage office together. Menma, although today's events are all over, the teacher still wants to remind you that you must be cautious and careful in your actions in the future. Tomorrow, oh, no, it should be today, you will be an official ninja. From now on we have to perform a variety of tasks, and any carelessness may lead to very dangerous results. I hope you can remember this. Stepping out of the Hokage building, at the fork in the street, Uruka looked at Menma with a serious expression and said the same. Well, I remember it, Mr. Uruka, I will definitely act with caution in the future. Menma nodded heavily and said, hearing Menma's answer. Uruka also had a gentle smile on his face and nodded. Go back and rest. The graduation ceremony starts at 9 o'clock. Don't be late. Yes, Uruka-sensei. After Uruka said this, he turned around and left, heading back to his home on the other side. Menma stayed on the spot, watching Uruka's figure gradually disappearing into the night, and then suppressed the smile on his face. He turned and glanced at the Hokage building, which was still brightly lit. A faint cold color flashed quickly in Menma's pupils. This is just the beginning. Single quote. The end of winter. The breath of early spring is coming here. January of the 60th year of Konoha. Menma also officially graduated from the ninja school. After leaving the novice protection period, what will come next is a real boss-level enemy that is more dangerous and terrifying than the previous one. The night slowly passes away. Dawn comes quietly. The next day, when the first ray of sunshine shines on the earth in the morning. The ninja school located in the core of the village has gradually become noisy and noisy. The ninja school has 2 fixed lively days every year, one is the opening season in March, and the other is the graduation season in January. The boys and girls who have successfully passed the graduation examination will wear the forehead protectors they just received at this moment and come to the ninja school to attend their graduation ceremony in high spirits. The little ones who have not yet graduated will also be envious. He looked at these graduating seniors with longing and fantasized about their future graduation prospects. I have never seen the true cruelty of the little guys in the ninja world. In their eyes, we only see the glory of becoming a ninja, but we don't see the risks that ninjas need to take. Menma also rarely got up early, but slept until 8 o'clock. This is not only because today is special. It was also because they had just fought a battle last night. Even though Mizuki was a weak enemy, it was Menma's first battle in this world after all. That is to say, Mizuki was really terrible. Mizuki possesses the average strength of a chunin and maintains the highest level of fighting consciousness. Even Menma couldn't win yesterday's battle so clearly. Because others can't see it. Menma actually knew very well that during yesterday's battle, he was still a little nervous. The arm holding the kunai was trembling slightly at the beginning. Don't forget that in his previous life, he lived in a harmonious and peaceful country. The biggest battle scene was when I assisted my own master to kill a chicken once. It would be a strange thing if Menma wasn't nervous at all in this kind of real person PK. Therefore, the outcome of this battle is not that important to Menma. But the battle itself has extraordinary significance. This also allowed Menma to truly integrate into this dark and cruel world of blood and fire. What a very comfortable night. Single quote. I slept until dawn. This was Menma's first time in this world except when he was still a baby. In the past, he would get up when the sky was dark. This is a rare experience. Plus last night's experience. Let Menmata stand at the window, looking at the distant scenery, seeming to have a long-lost feeling of relaxation and joy. After briefly tidying up and eating breakfast, Menma also put on his own outing clothes, tied a forehead protector on his forehead, opened the door, and strode towards the ninja school. This time is different from before. Menma didn't deliberately choose a less crowded path to take a detour. Just like all the students of the ninja school, he walked on the nearest avenue, facing the light of the morning sun. The streets were already crowded with people, the facades were wide open, and the scene was extremely noisy. But this time, Menma didn't hear any vague scoldings like before. Almost when the people saw the iconic forehead protector of Konoha Ninja on Menma's forehead, all of them subconsciously tensed up. Face. Ninjas are the most special existences in this world. They can still dislike Menma, and even arrange and isolate Menma in private, but they can never show their malicious intentions openly like in the past. In other words, it can't be so naked, so obvious. It was even more impossible to directly insult Menma in front of him when there were not many people around like in the past when Menma was a child. The status gap between ninjas and ordinary people is huge. At this moment, when they looked at Menma, they all became timid. Menma still had the same expression as before, and he walked past with a calm expression. He didn't mean to say that he wanted to see the different attitudes of these ordinary people. He just felt that now he could walk on the road openly. After all, the malicious looks and even insults from these people before were unacceptable to me personally. Menma didn't have the tendency to be abused, so he naturally chose trails with fewer or even fewer people. Now that he has officially become a ninja, no need to worry about these issues anymore. This one goes right through the crowd. Ordinary people also seemed to act as if they didn't see Menma. After Menma's figure gradually faded away, everyone looked at Menma's leaving back with incomprehensible eyes. I didn't expect this kid to become a ninja. Single quote. I don't know what the third generation is thinking. Why? Single quote. Really? Single quote. They knew that starting from today, everything would be different. Menma, who has already left, naturally has no way of knowing what these ordinary people are thinking. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care at all. Now he is only thinking about his next class assignment and who he will form a team with. After all, although he replaced Naruto in the original work, he was not Naruto. In this time and space, Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki gave birth to twins. He is Menma Uzumaki. There is also a younger brother, Naruto Namikaze. If there is one more person, everything will naturally be different. The only thing that can be determined with a high probability is that his teacher should still be Hatake Kakashi, because in the current Konoha hidden village, there is no one more suitable than Kakashi. It depends on what the old guy thinks about it. Single quote. When Menma arrived at the ninja school, which was already bustling with people, there was a hint of thoughtfulness in his pupils. Walking into the ninja school lightly. Along the way, I saw graduates of the same level, all with excitement and yearning on their faces. It seemed that they could foresee that after becoming a ninja, they could easily complete various high-level tasks, and then become the heroes of the ninja village. Average outlook. Fantasy for these people. Menma could only say that Konoha had become too comfortable these past few years. Let each of the graduates in the past few years turn into flowers cultivated in the greenhouse, these ordinary graduates. These people are just like Tucson. Say something ugly. After graduation, it is not strange to die on any sea-level mission. Geniuses are in the minority after all. There are also only a few people who can get preferential treatment. This can be seen clearly from the original work. Not everyone is qualified to join the team led by Jonin, and not everyone can stand out in such a cruel ninja world. Among the top ninjas in the powerful ninja world, which one has his hands stained with blood, and which one's reputation is not built up of piles of bones. If you have no talent, no background, and your mentality cannot be adjusted in time. To put it bluntly, the future of these people is not promising at all. He can only become one of those numerous bones. The same is true for Menma himself. The decision he has made and the path he is destined to follow will only turn into a withered skeleton if he is not careful. This is also a side of Konoha's continuous decline. It is the truth to be prepared for danger in times of peace. Single quote. Menma shook his head slightly inwardly. Oh, isn't this our number one? You came so late today, the graduation ceremony is about to begin. Woof woof woof. As soon as he entered the classroom. Before Menma reached his seat, he heard a slightly high-pitched voice and the barking of a young puppy. No need to turn his head. Menma knew who was coming. In their classroom, or even in this grade, there was only one student who brought a puppy into the school, and that was Inuzuka Kiba, who was from the Inuzuka clan, which was famous for breeding ninja dogs. This person was also one of the few companions that Menma had communicated with several times in the ninja school. After all, although Menma was unwilling, he never took the initiative to communicate with these classmates. But some people were willing to take the initiative to approach Menma. Kiba was one of them. Menma couldn't say bad things to them, right? Of course, at most, they could only maintain an ordinary classmate relationship. Ah, it's Kiba. I practiced a little longer last night, so I overslept today, but I'm not late. Menma smiled and replied softly. Tisk tisk, you're already the first, and you're still working so hard, Menma. Inuzuka Kiba said in amazement. Woof woof woof. This is why Menma can always be the first in our class. Kiba, Menma is different from you. On the side, two figures also came over. The one on the left is big enough to be two Menmas. While saying this, he was showing off potato chips. This man is the son of the current head of the Akamichi clan, Akamichi Choji. The boy who came with him, with a pineapple hairstyle and a lazy look, is the character known as the ceiling of IQ in the original work, Nara Shikamaru. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.